Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 183 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. We have a very special episode for you guys today. We're doing something we've never done on GameFace.
An intervention.
Yeah, for me. We are going to have a live watch party for Sony's State of Play that kicks off at the top of the hour, right at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We started a little bit early today. I know some people may be getting in a little bit late, but they'll get here just in time to watch the State of Play with us. This is the first time we've done this. I'm hoping there are no technical issues. I think everything's good. We'll see how it goes. Now I've jinxed it. But anyway, that's coming up at the top of the hour at 1 p.m., and we're keeping an eye on it. We have it right here, so we'll know exactly when it kicks off. The thing about this is it's not live. It's a pre-recorded video that just goes live, like right at the top of the hour. So,
but it's new to us.
Yeah, exactly. It's all new stuff. It's looking like we're going to get a bunch of stuff for The Last of Us Part 2 and maybe some other stuff. And Matt and I will do
definitely getting the Modern Warfare story trailer.
Yeah, we'll do a predictions thing right before it kicks off. But anyway, we're keeping an eye on it, so don't sweat it.
Right before it kicks off.
Yeah, what'd you say?
We got 7 minutes.
Yeah, we got 7 minutes.
Now we got a countdown.
What'd you say?
They just started counting down.
Yeah, 7 minutes. So we're keeping an eye on it. Don't worry, you're not going to miss it, even though it's not technically live. I even thought about, because we're going to do analysis for this afterwards, I even thought about just like pausing it and doing analysis for each section, but I have a feeling our folks on the stream would probably be a little pissed off about that. So after it's over, we're going to do a bit of analysis about what we saw. We're hoping for some big stuff. We'll see how it goes. Some housekeeping before we do our predictions for this. GameFace is on Google Play. Finally, people with Android phones can listen to GameFace. Folks on YouTube, this should be huge for you guys. I know a lot of you guys have Android phones. You haven't been able to consume the podcast version of GameFace. That is all changed now. It's very easy to find. You can go on Google Play. You can search for it. I'm getting ready to shoot an episode of Ask Shane Anything, and somebody asked me to do kind of a walkthrough of how you can set up the podcast on Android phones. I am going to do that. That episode should be going up tomorrow or the day after. It's very simple, though. There's a tweet that's pinned to the top of our Twitter page right now that has the link to the podcast. You just click on that, and for most people, your phone just kind of walks you through it once you click on that link. But some people have had some issues, so I'm going to do a walkthrough for that. But anyway, the thing about our iTunes and our Google Play feeds is they actually go live earlier than the YouTube video version. So if you're someone who watches or actually just boots it up on YouTube and just listens to it while you're working or something like that, you can actually get the show earlier if you sign up for the podcast feed on iTunes or Google Play. So one more thing, review the show, please, if you're going to give us a good review. I'm kidding, of course. You can say whatever the hell you want. But reviews really help podcasts on both iTunes and Google Play. The more people that review them, the higher the score. When people search for gaming podcasts, it'll help it pop up. So please review the show. It could make a huge difference for us, and we'd really appreciate it. So we got 5 minutes left. That gives us just about enough time to do some predictions. Matt, what is your biggest prediction for this State of Play? Do you have one?
Well, I mean, Last of Us 2 is not really a prediction.
Everybody knows that's going to be a part.
Modern Warfare, I've been expecting the Modern Warfare story trailer for a while. I think that got confirmed today.
It did?
Or leaked or something.
Oh, I missed that.
So it seems like we're definitely going to get that. My fingers are crossed for a Ghost of Tsushima update of some kind.
Okay.
One thing I will predict in the negative is we will not see Batman.
Okay. Big stories.
Batman is for New York Comic Con.
Okay.
You will see Batman at New York Comic Con, but I don't think we'll see it here.
And you have been right about all that stuff
for years.
By the way, if you watch GameFace, you've been getting info about this Batman stuff from Matt for a while.
For years, I've been saying Court of Owls, Batman game from Montreal, and Suicide Squad game as a service from Rocksteady.
Yeah, Matt's been right all along.
And now one of those things is true, and now we just wait for the other thing to be true, because it's true.
There you
go.
go.
Wait for it. I promise you.
There you
it's
go.
The only thing that makes sense. They traded projects at some point, because remember Montreal was the one teasing the Suicide Squad game at the end of Origins.
Right.
And but I mean, I don't know. Maybe Rocksteady was just sick of making Batman.
Yep.
But,
what about any PS5 stuff?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they mentioned it, or we got some kind of tease along the lines of what we got for the Scarlet at E3 this year. I mean, it's probably about time to mention it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get it blown out or anything.
Yeah, I don't either.
But it feels like it's probably time.
What about You know that loading demo that they showed in that weird like
Spider-Man thing,
right?
yeah.
In that creepy like conference room or whatever. Do you think that they might just show us just like a direct feed version of something like that?
Yeah, they might. They might do that.
It would be nice to have, because if you're talking about PlayStation 5 and you need B-roll to cover it, that's the only thing you have right now.
The problem is like, I don't know if your first impression of PS5 you want to show is going to be like a
loading
a
times.
PS4 game.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, obviously you could see in that leaked footage that Spider-Man did look better.
Yeah.
But it's still a PS4 game.
Do you think we'll see Ghost of Tsushima today?
I
It has been a long time.
I hope so. I mean,
we kind of hoped we'd see it at Gamescom and then Tokyo Game Show.
I kind of hoped it might come out this year.
Right.
But like, it feels more and more like it's going to end up being a launch title. Probably also compatible with PS4, but like I don't know. Like it feels like their kind of show off game, especially if Last of Us really is coming out in February.
Which seems like it is.
Seems very likely.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd like to. I'm not counting on it. I mean, I will take more Sucker Punch in whatever form you want to give it to me, basically. But and they also, I mean, when I talked to them at E3 last year, the Sucker Punch guys, I ran into them at the Marriott, and they were they kind of hinted to me that it was further along than you might think. But that doesn't mean that Sony's not going to put it where they need to put it. So
strategically, yeah.
We didn't see anything at TGS except the old trailer.
Same trailer. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice.
It is so due.
Yeah.
It is like way overdue to see something new.
A year and 3 months now.
Yeah. I think the chances of seeing something PS5 related are probably 15% or less. Mm-hmm. Let's say the chances are pretty low of that.
Yeah, I would suspect they're going to mention there's a new system next year, but like I don't think we'll see a blowout video of it or anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is also pretty early in 2019, relatively speaking. There's still 3 or 4 months to go where they could slide in another event or do another state of play or something like that.
Or, I mean, it could make...
This isn't like a do-or-die situation.
It could also make just as much sense to wait until after Last of Us is out.
Yeah.
You know, like, you still got 2 big bullets in the chamber with Death Stranding and Last of Us.
And I think we're going to see a good bit of Death Stranding today. It's Sony's it's Sony's big game for Q4.
Yeah.
It kind of needs to promote it. It's a confusing game. Sony could take this opportunity to kind of clear things up for people who haven't been following. I mean, people who have been following don't know exactly what's up.
I mean, at the same time, considering what we now know from the TGS showing, maybe you don't want people to be too clear on what this is.
That could be true. We got 30 seconds left, people, so we're at the final countdown. In fact, Adam, let's just go to our Mortis. There we go. So, folks, hopefully the audio's good. We worked a good bit on it to make sure the audio levels are good, so I'm hoping our voices are mixed well with the audio for the state of play. I'm pretty excited about this, I have to admit. I don't get too excited for Nintendo Directs anymore, and the first state of play was pretty awful. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, I would hope this is better, but...
Yep, here we go.
That was a hell of a transition.
Yeah, a little rough. What could that be? It looks like the light on the PS4 Pro.
Yeah. Well, because the orange was when it was sleeping. Now it's on.
Peggy 18.
New game.
Interesting. Like I'm very interested in why this is rated 18. I guess
it looks like a war of humanity.
Murdering people left and right with giant blocks.
It's like Lemmings with real people.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or the World War Z.
Yeah, cross with Lemmings, yeah. Okay, this looks pretty insane.
Escalation.
What? What if all those people are real players?
I'm not.
Yeah, that's pretty impossible. They'd have to be made out of like 5 polygons.
These are all simulation.
Yeah.
Things. I mean, also real players can't move that organized. I don't know who made this, but they have some good drugs in their vending machines.
Interesting.
Katamari Damacy not make you feel like you were killing enough people?
2020. Okay, maybe once the show kicks off proper, someone could go to that URL and fill us in.
.game. Interesting.
Enhance.
Hey everyone, it's time for another State of Play. We're really excited to share some great games and surprises with you today. Starting with that exclusive reveal of humanity from Enhanced Games. Next up,
here we
Infinity
go.
Ward gives us an all-new look at Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh, the world's
an
gonna
epic
melt
new
down if they
entry
really
in the
show the real
blockbuster
stuff in
series.
this.
Let's see it, Captain Price.
I have a feeling this trailer's gonna be pretty tame.
There's nothing simple about it.
This is bigger now. Chemical weapons have fallen into terrorist hands. They could be anywhere.
We need to move fast.
What do you suggest?
A business trip. Farah! Let's talk! I need your help.
Because of this poison, my people have known something worse than war.
Help us track it.
If you stay, we can help you. But if you stay, you fight.
Yelling out to him.
The invaders of my country have no regard for human life.
We live like this every day.
Any further complications and we're at war.
We're breaking through now. We need a new extraction point fast. Save yourself, daughter. Join us.
I lead soldiers. You train killers.
But we are all killers here, no? How about you, Captain? Are you gonna let them die?
The Kremlin has suspended all deconfliction channels, and chemical weapons are now in the wild. Fix it.
Where do we draw the line, sir? You draw the line. No time! Stop! Wherever you need it. What the hell is this?
It's the off switch. We're all just pawns in this.
Will you speak for yourself?
This is crazy.
Yeah, but we're all a little crazy, aren't we? The rules of engagement have changed. If you can't identify the target, you are the target.
That doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. Very tame trailer. Very tame.
Reinforcements approaching the bank. We advise you to get in and get ready to fight.
Thankfully, we won't have much longer to wait.
I mean,
Call of Duty Modern
it looks like they're
Warfare
actually
lands
putting
on
characters
PS4
in this one.
October.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, from the imagination of the creator of Katamari Damacy and Nobi Nobi Boy, comes a long-awaited update.
This one's been in development for a long
Yeah.
time.
Dude has a type, I'll give him that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a nose.
It's about connection, so it must be a Death Stranding spin-off.
Yeah, this is a mini game in Death Stranding. It must be hard to create a game like Katamari and then for the rest of your career have to try to recreate that magic.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Miyamoto deals with that type of stuff all the time.
I don't know, Miyamoto just like, oh, I'm gonna make a game about gardening with little creatures.
Yeah.
They're running. I mean, I don't get the impression Miyamoto cares.
Yeah, he may not at this
whatever he
point.
wants to make, and he
I don't
knows
blame
it's
him
gonna
if
be
he
good.
doesn't care at this point.
At a certain point, after you've made like half the things he's made, you have to have some confidence, just ready to go.
Yeah. I'm sure he's got a few job offers through the years that
His
boosted
Wii
his
musics are few and far between.
Yeah, it's true. Sadly.
What is it? Watama? Wadam?
Wadam, yeah.
So has this been in development since Nobi Nobi Boy, or
What'd you say?
how long has that been in development?
A couple years now?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was supposed to be released a while ago, but it never came out.
We can't wait
December.
to play it. The wonderfully wacky and whimsical world of Watam comes to PS4 this December. Okay, prepare to embark on a gorgeous new journey with another first look.
Huh.
Piccolo.
What do they do?
I don't know.
Oh, is this Valhalla?
Maybe. It's like another winter survival game. Just what the industry needs.
But you're already dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Very different take on mythology than God of War.
Absolutely. Maybe he didn't make it to heaven after all.
At the end, he's gonna end up at the North Pole and become Santa Claus. Spoilers.
He already looks like him. Arise.
It's got scope.
Arise is coming soon to PS4.
So see you in 2021.
Yeah, it never says whether they're exclusive
Now
or
let's
not.
see what Rockstar Games
Ooh,
has coming to
LA Noire?
PlayStation VR.
Oh, PlayStation VR. That may be interesting.
Oh, wow.
We have a witness who confirms that you were arguing, that your wife ran out, that you followed her and didn't come back.
I know this looks bad, but it's not true. We argued, all right? But she went out and I went out after her and she jumped in a car on the corner.
I mean, for me, this might be worth it just to drive around old-time LA.
Yeah.
She was looking around in her bag. Said she wanted to serve me papers. Me, her own husband.
Who else are you going to serve divorce
That's the
papers
truth.
to?
Her brother.
Out now.
Oh, wow.
You've been shadow
The good
dropped.
news is LA Noire, the VR case files, is available at PlayStation Store today. And that's just a taste of what's coming for PlayStation VR players.
Can't believe they're going to make me hook the damn VR thing up to play more Space Channel 5.
Dude, whatever happened to Golem? It just never came out.
I don't know. They got a pretty substantial demo at E3 that one year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was one
Not
of the
demo, but it was
marquee
like a-
games
Yeah,
for
it
the
was-
pre-promotion of PlayStation VR. Where is it?
Probably trying to climb that mountain in a rise.
la la.
After 17 years.
Yeah.
We've got
Crazy.
more for you to check out. Get ready for an update on Medieval. Here's your chance
heard
to
about
get
that
your
in a
hands
while.
on a
Yeah,
demo
I
of
kind
the
of figured.
eagerly awaited
In fact, Vincent in
experience.
his article
Launching
yesterday
today
predicted
on the
that we'd see
PlayStation
something
Store.
about this. Oh, a demo's
Today.
coming.
Oh, demo. I mean, I admit I don't really have a lot of warm fuzzies for this one.
Me either.
It's just PlayStation 1 didn't have a lot of things that endeared me.
Me either. The
like
characters, the art in the
Parappa.
games. I agree.
Parappa and Bust a Groove was about it. Colony Wars, but there are no characters in that. Spyro.
They need to promote this, though.
They do.
It's not like they have a lot of exclusives left for PS4. Yeah, the characters for a lot of PS1 games just weren't endearing to me. They just never left a lasting impression.
I kind of like Blasto, but obviously you can't follow that up.
Glover.
Glover was an N64.
Originally, though, didn't it come to PlayStation eventually?
Maybe.
I thought it did.
I'm not an expert on the history of Glover.
Yeah. Civ 6.
You do feel sorry for the editor that's handed all this footage. You're like, okay, make Civilization exciting for a trailer.
I remember having to do video reviews at GT and at X-Play for these games. It was so hard.
I remember we did one for Europa Universalis 4, in which Paul Bonanno ended up just shooting himself in the mouth.
Yeah, that's right.
And like,
you needed
we would
really
never
creative
get that on
people to
TV
make
today.
those reviews interesting.
I got banned from a forum for posting a GIF of that shot.
Really?
Because people thought it was too real. No one was paying attention to us back then.
Nope. And we liked it that way. Until
Well,
it
maybe
until
a
it
few
mattered.
more people with Nielsen boxes. would be
Right.
good.
Or like I said, until it mattered.
Get the opportunity to expand their empires in just a few short months.
And let us get away with a lot of stuff.
You might have heard Death Stranding from director Hideo Kojima is launching this November. We've got something very cool to show you.
Uh-oh.
If we don't come together again, humanity won't survive.
Another guest actor, celebrity, maybe.
Either that, they had no idea what Kojima would give them, so they just said, we got something very cool.
Oh, a Death Stranding controller.
Death Stranding controller with a baby in it.
Oh, and a limited edition PS4. That is ugly.
They're all ugly, though.
They are.
I mean,
that one's especially ugly.
That's real bad, yeah.
I mean, I'm a Pittsburgh fan, and I want nothing to do with that controller.
This limited edition PS4
Especially in a
Pro
game where you
will
can
be
pee.
available
Yeah.
on launch day, starting November
Like, that's what I'm
8th.
thinking of when I see that.
I wonder what they call the color of that controller. Urine yellow.
Do you think you can beat Satan in a drinking game?
That's it for
Convinced
Death
you
Stranding?
escaped hell?
Yes, I do think I could beat Satan in a drinking game.
Yeah, I have to assign torches and clean up.
Was that a pro or a
skeletons
base?
every once
That
in a
was a pro.
while,
Was
but
it?
People typically know what to expect. Except, well, these two morons I keep hearing about. Milo and Lola. They're friends their whole lives and then go and die like 2 minutes before graduating college. They go through processing, get their personal demon, the whole thing. But then they take a cab ride from Sam, and she goes and blabs about the loophole. Like I didn't already have enough to do tonight, you know? I told them to outdrink Hell's monarchs first, you know, my psycho relatives.
What? You're like a bartender in hell?
Bartending drinking game in hell.
Have to deal with karaoke crowds, the lava swamps, the fanatics from the Fourth Circle. I mean, these complete idiots really have no idea what they're getting into.
I need a drink.
Is he talking to us?
Huh.
It's Good Halloween
After
game.
Party is
Yeah,
being
that
developed
is.
by the talented team at Night School Studio, and it's coming soon to PS4.
Bartender in
Speaking
Hell
of coming
simulation.
soon, we've got a sneak peek at October's PlayStation Plus lineup.
Oh,
Batter up.
we're getting it 2 weeks
It'll be
early.
a show. Probably last year's, I would think.
That's my guess. If it's not, that would be pretty
That
awesome.
would be nice. I haven't actually played this year's yet.
I haven't played it either.
Microtransactions.
I'll tell you what, though, it would be smart to just give this away because it has like the Ultimate Team stuff where you're gonna make money on the cards.
Yeah. Also, like, this season's pretty much over.
Right. Yeah, baseball season's done. Yeah, the sales of this are done. Like, just give it away. No.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is that the newest
19,
one?
yeah.
Oh, the
Baseball
20th?
games are named
Oh,
because
right.
the season's all in the,
The
same
actual year they're in. Yeah.
MLB
That's
The
cool.
Show
I'll do that.
19 will be free for PlayStation Plus members starting in October. But wait, today we can also share that The Last of Us Remastered is also coming to PlayStation Plus
Oh,
members
whoa.
starting in October.
Setting the
alongside
table.
MLB The Show 19.
Maybe Last of Us Part 2's coming earlier than we think.
But before we let you
Nah.
go, let's take a look at
Seems like they would
Yeah,
give
give
that
people
away the
time to
month
play.
before it
from
came out.
PlayStation's
Nah, it's
worldwide
February.
studios.
Scale of 1 to 10. How would you rate our kiss from last night?
Oh wow.
Look who decided to join us. All right. You all know the drill.
Looks like things are working out pretty well.
People! There are people!
Last of Us, my ass.
Yeah.
You run into anything you can't handle. You come back.
Can ride a horse. What was that?
I don't know. I think it's just.
That's
for
how
effect.
they cut it? That's weird.
Get off me! Please stop! No!
Oh.
Well, now we know why she's out for revenge.
Oh boy.
Tommy, I have to finish it.
You have no idea what you're walking into.
What are you doing?
You don't know how large that group is, how armed.
I don't care. You can't stop this. What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
Aw, snap. Oh my god. As if my anticipation for this game could get any higher. That looks awesome, man.
Yeah,
Like
February.
220. Or 221. Thank God. I almost said I said 2021 for a
We've been anxiously
second.
awaiting any news on this hugely anticipated title. Thanks to Naughty Dog for giving us this all-new look at The Last
Oh
of
my
Us
God,
Part
that was
2.
an awesome
and
trailer.
we've even got a release date. Mark your calendars for February 21st, 2020. Okay, everyone, that's a wrap on another episode of
it.
State of
That's
Play.
it.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon, and keep the feedback and suggestions coming. Until next time.
All right. Let's not bury the lead. Let's just talk about The Last of Us Part 2 right off the top.
Well, because
there.
without it, it's pretty much the same as it's just as good as last State of Play without Last of Us 2.
Well, the last State of Play was pretty good. The first one was bad. And then the second one, you could see they were starting to figure it out a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot there was another one in there.
This one, probably in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, bleh. Last of Us is the star there.
Let's talk about it. So they showed a bunch of stuff. I wish we could watch the trailer over right now, but people. There are so many people.
Well, that's what I've always said about Last of Us was like it really seemed like a pretty manageable apocalypse. You know, like
you have said that before.
Even by the time like the actual game happens, like they've pretty much figured out like, you know, don't go in here. If you see the spores, put the mask on. Like the clickers aren't really running around in the safe zone, habitable areas. You know, they all seem to kind of be dying out. And, like, it just seemed like, you know, obviously any kind of thing like that, the biggest threat is going to be other people. I mean, Dave is way more threatening in that game than the zombies are. But, like, it felt like, especially by the end of the game, it felt like, yeah, we pretty much got this handled.
Under
like,
control,
you know,
at least, yeah.
So you can kind of see that. I mean, basically, it's just like, don't go in basements at this point. You know, like,
it appears that it's going to be more about the struggle for power among humans than...
Well, it seems like it's pretty clearly they're gonna fridge the girl, her girlfriend, and
is that what you think happened?
I'm pretty sure that's what happens. They're killing her while they're holding her.
The
down.
Girl that she just kissed.
Yeah. As that mission they're on goes horribly wrong. And
it could be worse. They could be killing someone else that I think would have a bigger impact.
Well, I don't think. Well, Joel is clearly there, so I don't think that's going to be. I think the crux of the relationship between her and Joel is going to be the awareness of what he said about the lie at the end of the first game, and sort of that's probably why he's not in town, right? They kicked him out for some shit,
probably,
and or maybe he left because he couldn't deal with it or whatever. So I think he's not dead. I think he's there for real, and you're going to be with him, and sort of part of the conflict is going to be reconciling with him after, you know, the aftermath of what happened at the end of the first game, plus him trying to convince her that this is not a way to live, while she's on her roaring rampage of revenge for her dead girlfriend. I mean, on one hand, like I think you can make that case pretty strongly in like a modern world, but in a world where you find someone worthwhile so rarely, I can see a better case for deciding to just throw your life away, killing everybody who killed them.
Well,
you know?
I think particularly too, if you're of her sexual persuasion, it might be even more difficult to find yourself someone.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she doesn't seem like. I still feel like there's going to be an element of I feel there's going to be an element of her having the infection and kind of being known as sort of the immune one that makes her kind of scary to people. And the fact that she survived out there. So, I mean, there's in the previous trailer, obviously, where the other, I can't remember her name, the other girl, her girlfriend.
I don't remember her name at all.
She said, you know, she's I think they should be terrified of you.
Yeah.
And probably. I mean,
yeah.
She can take care of herself. That's for sure. So yeah, I think that's what we're looking at a revenge journey, trying to be tempered by Joel, who's kind of done the throw your life away in the name of the death of a loved one thing, and did not go well for him.
Yeah. So maybe she learns the lesson from him.
Maybe or I mean, this is The Last of Us. She probably doesn't learn it until it's way too late.
You're probably right. Some new elements were shown off.
It looks like they've really expanded the air. Like they're taking a page, I think, from Uncharted 4, where it looks like there's open areas you can ride the horse around in, and drive a boat around it. Like I feel like they're using kind of Uncharted 4's open areas and maybe God of War's sort of open areas as sort of a template for these games going forward.
Which I'm
totally
cool
fine with,
yeah.
as long as there's interesting stuff to do. And I think, you know, the premise of Last of Us gives you a lot of reason to kind of poke into abandoned buildings and find clicker nests or find, like, you know, desperate cannibals that you need to kill or whatever. Like, there's a lot of potential there. And, you know, God, it looks gorgeous. Like, just everything. I mean, talk about destroyed beauty, you know. Like,
oh, yeah. How crazy was it to see a town?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of expecting something like that, just because it felt like because at the end of the first game, they're planning to Joel's brother planning to kind of start a new community around the dam that you've gotten to work again.
Yep.
That seems like that's probably what that is.
It worked.
And,
yeah.
It absolutely worked. I mean, it felt, like I said, it felt like a manageable apocalypse. It felt like smart people with a good plan and a defensible position could theoretically make something out of it. And it looks like it looks like a town of maybe 1,000 people or something.
How pervasive?
Christmas lights and everything.
Yeah. How pervasive do you think the town life stuff is going to be? And is that something you're interested in?
I am interested in it just because I'm always interested to see, like, post-apocalyptic, like, end of the world stuff is easy. Trying to kind of come up with a plausible way of how people rebuild is hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see what they do with that. I do think it will only be relevant probably in, like, the first act.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the bulk of the game is going to be spent out in the wilds, like, doing what you're going to do.
I mean, that's The Last of Us, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, but like, I think it's going to be also going to be a fun contrast from the Boston sort of, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it was almost a ghetto in the first one that we start out in, and kind of getting out of that almost felt like liberating. It felt like, it was still dangerous out there, but it felt like you were out in sort of a place you could kind of, you were under less scrutiny, you were less controlled, but you just had to look out for yourself.
Also, a lot less danger.
Yeah, and because people are always more dangerous in this series.
Well, there's also a lot more people in urban areas, so the risk of...
Yeah. Also, Joel and his girlfriend were some of the dangerous people.
They were.
In that urban area. And in this, I think they're going to play it up more as, like, leaving that town is going to feel like leaving Sanctuary. And you're not going to want to, but you're going to have to.
Huh.
So it's going to... I'm very interested to kind of see how that all plays out. Like, it looks like...
But you don't think there's going to be, like, shops and stuff like that where you go and, like, upgrade like a blacksmith and stuff? No,
I don't think you'll be going back to that town again. Not until, like, later in the game, if
Interesting.
at all.
So you don't think that's going to be, like, the home base where you keep going back after going out on runs?
I don't think so.
I hope you're right, because it's hard for me to look at The Last of Us without having the frame of reference of The Walking Dead. And so it's been on the air for so long. You've kind of seen what works and what doesn't work with plot devices in that sort of a setting. And The Walking Dead at this point is just a big loop. It just goes through this cycle of they're out on the road, they find a new place to stay, they like it there, someone comes and takes it, they go back on the road.
Then
and
we're the real monsters.
Right, it's just this cycle that repeats every 2 seasons.
That's why I stopped watching it like 6 years ago.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like, honestly, it's gotten really bad.
And even the comic
which is
ended.
why it makes me nervous. Yeah, you're right. Even the comic is done now. But
out of nowhere, I might add. No one knew that was going to be the end of the series.
Maybe they were watching the show and was like, the longer we do this comic, the longer this show's going to drag on.
I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with the show at this point. AMC's got a 10-year plan for that shit, with spin-offs and various things. But
it needs a better plan.
Kirkman used to say the series goes until Rick dies. The series about Rick is if Rick dies, that's the end of the comic. But he said I could easily go for 1,000 issues.
Yeah.
Instead, he went for 193.
Well, I don't know what happened in the comic, but he's not dead in the show.
No, the comic is very, very different.
I've heard that. I've never read the
It's
novels.
also much, much, much better.
Is it?
Vastly better.
Huh.
Early on they kind of stick, and you can kind of get, I like to take the show's take on this versus this. But once you get past, say, the prison part, the comic is unquestionably better.
So is Rick still alive in the comics?
I don't know if everybody's read the comics yet.
Oh, okay. I was pretty impressed with that, I gotta say. That was one of the best trailers I've seen in quite a while. Yeah.
Gives you a good idea of what to expect, like sets the story up pretty well.
It changed my whole perspective on the game in like 90 seconds.
I don't know if I'd say that.
It still looks like The Last of Us, but it looks a lot different from the first game.
It doesn't look that different to me, but
I don't know. To me, was there any shot in the first game that had that many people in it?
No, but that doesn't really revolutionize the genre to me.
I mean,
there were a lot of people in Boston. I mean, not that many. It was limited by how much the PS3 could show.
Right.
But what I'm seeing in that trailer is a natural evolution of having the power of the PS4. Because remember, the last one was last generation. Despite the remastered version. I mean, you're looking at the people who made that giraffe scene. You give them the power of the next generation system, and they're going to make something that looks like that. I mean, it looks very along the lines of what I would expect in terms of expanding the world, expanding the area you get to play in. Giving you modes of transportation because everything's too big to walk on foot now. which is one of my biggest kind of complaints about the first game. Was it just felt so segmented.
It was
because it was just a straight journey through these areas, and like there was just moments where I just felt like it needed more continuity of place, and it looks like this is going to give that to you.
At least a little more open ended.
Yeah, I think so.
How do you feel about them just showing a trailer and not showing like a new chunk of gameplay?
Nobody does gameplay anymore. I'm just kind of used to that now.
They did.
I would like to see kind of what the gameplay looks like, just because I thought the weakest link of the first game is the gameplay.
Agreed.
Everything else is like stellar, and the gameplay is sort of like something I've done 1,000 times before.
I was
really slogging through the gameplay sections to get to the
story stuff. Yeah.
Towards
the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole immersion break of the stealth stuff and how she could just run around and it's like the enemies couldn't see her. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you don't realize or notice until the rubber hits the road, which is why I would have liked to have seen like another chunk of this. Maybe there aren't even like cooperative sections, or at least they aren't as prevalent as in the first game.
Or you make it a little more conservative. I mean, it's better than if when she ran out in the middle of nowhere, they saw her and everything went to hell. I mean, obviously it's a better solution. Just let her be invisible.
Well, if you can't handle the AI of the character, then sure.
It's a punt.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can solve the problem if the AI is good enough, but at a certain point, you got to kind of cut your losses and get the game out. So, I was really impressed with that. I was secretly, in my heart of hearts, I was hoping that it was going to come out before the end of the year. I knew it was a long shot, but
there's no way in hell you release that and Death Stranding in the same quarter.
I can wait till February. My birthday's in February. I'll just consider this a gift from the gaming gods to me for my birthday. But it's looking hot. You think we'll see more of it before it comes out?
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little more like the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or they do another State of Play around that time.
What do you think about online play for this?
Don't care.
What about co-op?
Don't care.
You would rather play by
yourself? I would rather play by myself. Absolutely.
It's
too cinematic.
Even if the AI character is running around like a chicken with his head cut off?
Yes. It's too cinematic for that. Same reason I wouldn't want someone else controlling Atreus in God of War.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not what it's for. I mean, I would be surprised if there wasn't some kind of multiplayer, because the multiplayer in the first game did well.
Yeah.
But I'm probably never going to play it beyond trying it to talk about it on this show. It's not what I'm here for.
Yeah, I mean, I fully admit that I've never, quote unquote, got into a Naughty Dog multiplayer suite.
No.
I've always played it because I had to evaluate the game, but after I got done, I never stuck with it.
Same.
But you know what? There are people at Game Trailers that did, that loved their multiplayer.
It's different, I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Like, certainly, like Uncharted, I didn't really enjoy any of the Uncharted multiplayer things, but like I could definitely see why you'd latch onto it if you were just looking for something new.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily new, but not Call of Duty. I mean, especially at the time those games were coming out, it was like everyone played first-person shooters, and that's it. You know, it was like that was like kind of the only option you had.
Yep.
So I can understand that, but it never grabbed me.
Okay, let's start talking about some other stuff they showed. They gave up the free games for PlayStation Plus for next month already. MLB The Show 19 and The Last of Us Remastered,
which I'm pretty sure has been a free game before.
I think it was.
I don't think I would have bought it.
Well, I think it was just The Last of Us, though. It wasn't the remastered
version. That was definitely the remastered. So
they're double dipping on this?
Because I have it, and I definitely wouldn't have bought that.
Huh.
So I
that might be the first time they've double dipped a game for a PlayStation Plus.
I can't remember.
Someone in
if
chat
they
will
did, it
probably
would have
remind
been
us.
years ago. It would have been years and years ago.
Some people in chat are like, I was hooked on The Last of Us and Uncharted 2 multiplayer.
Yeah, Last of Us, I know people that swear by Last of Us online. It's just not my thing.
I'm not hating anyone for liking it. It just wasn't my thing.
And I see like what they describe, and I'm like, oh yeah, that does sound cool. I'm just not. It's not here for it.
Yep. I think that lineup for October, though, for most people, they're going to be pretty excited about it.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
I still think it's weird to have The Last of Us as a freebie like 5 months before the sequel comes out. Like, wouldn't it have been perfect to do it the month before? No. Everyone plays it. They know the story by heart.
No.
And then, boom, they go into the second.
No, because you got to give people time to play it.
Do you think that if they had done that, it would have kept people from buying?
No, but people just wouldn't have gotten around to finishing the first. I think you want to give people time with this thing. And it's the holiday season, and you put it up in January. Who knows? People forget to check because it's New Year's, and you want to give people time to kind of get around to it.
Yep.
So that makes sense to me.
Death Stranding. Were you surprised how little was shown of that?
No. I mean, they just blew out in 80 minutes of the thing. Like,
a Tokyo Game Show, though. Like,
yeah, but everybody who matters saw it. Like, it's all out there. Like, it's not like there's a different audience for the people who saw Tokyo Game Show videos and this. Like, it's all the same people.
Yeah, but
it's just one more thing to pre-order now.
Yeah, but I think back to whenever I was, again, home for Labor Day weekend, and I ran into my old crew in Philly and hung out with them for a whole day. Like, they always talk to me about games, and like those people don't even know Death Stranding exists. Like,
they don't. They haven't started advertising on NFL games yet.
Yeah.
This is not going to change anything about that. It's mainstream TV advertising that's going to like get that in people's heads.
They knew about Borderlands, though.
Well, yeah, because Borderlands been advertising on TV for like the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Before the launch. I mean, that's how you do it. The last month before launch, you just blitz with it.
Yeah.
Movies do that too. It works. I mean, because you want people to be aware of it, but you don't want people to be waiting for it, because most people are not going to wait for this stuff. They're just going to be like, oh, I'm tired of seeing this commercial. So it's just the right amount of time to get people like, oh, I'm interested. I want to get that. Now it's out. Oh, I got it. Or I put it on my Christmas list, obviously, this time of year.
Do you think that we'll see more of the game before it comes out? It's only like a month away.
I don't think so, especially because Kojima said he didn't want people to watch the TGS. I feel like Kojima's like, I've shown what I'm going to show.
Yeah.
The rest will be just commercials.
Yeah.
And that'll be that.
A launch trailer.
Yeah. Oh God! If you pre-ordered the collector's thing of this, and now you got to buy a PS4, imagine this just got to be a very expensive game if you're a hardcore Kojima fan.
I mean, of course, the launch trailer for this will probably be like 8 minutes long. So
yeah, it is Kojima. It'll have like some weird, goofy tag on it.
It'll have something
like, what?
to pique the interest of even people like us who have been following it all along, trying to figure out what the crap it is. And I think that there'll be something in that last trailer to be like, even we'll be like, what? What's that?
Yeah, there'll be like some Mads Mikkelsen will pop up and be like, kept you waiting, huh? Yeah. You're like, what the
Yeah.
Get a new line.
Yep.
And then Kojima will show up and take credit for every single element of the game, like he did on Twitter.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah, I did.
Not a great look.
No.
Dude.
I mean,
I know your name's on the box, but I think the 100 or so other people might have had something to do with some of that.
Are you surprised?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, no, but I mean,
it is what it is.
I mean, it's like it's a thing he struggled with forever. I mean, going back to like when you did like the I think the 10th anniversary interviews and stuff for Metal Gear Solid 1, and like the guys who like designed the gameplay were like, yeah, he pretty much came to us and said like, I'm just gonna write this story, and you guys need to design like boss battles, like mini games, basically to fit between the cutscenes. And they're like, so we did that, and he didn't care. Basically, he didn't care what we made as long as it got him to the next story sequence. But if you ask him, it'd be like, oh, I personally designed every single thing and how everything worked and all the boss. It's like, no, you did. I mean, I used to call Metal Gear Solid 1 a collection of mini games back when it came out, and people would scream at me for saying that. Like, but then like 10 years later, the guys who made it are like, yeah, it was a collection of mini games. It's exactly how we looked at it. Because that's what it was.
It was, yeah. Some really cool ones. But
I still think it's the best one.
I mean, let's be honest, a lot of games from that era were kind of like that. They're just pieces that are snapped together to create a whole. So,
yeah, but especially that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you could see it because there were so many disparate gameplay types. And
if you had longer cutscenes in it, Incredible Crisis would pretty much just be Metal Gear Solid. I mean, it's the same gameplay like flow.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. What else? Civ 6 coming to PS4. Is that a big deal?
Not to me, but to someone
to
maybe.
Some people.
It's also coming to Xbox One, I think.
Yeah.
It's on everything at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's on the Switch, too.
Like, I mean, I'll say this. Like, when you talk about...
I mean, why not? Civilization should be everywhere.
It should. I mean, when you talk about games that you get a lot of value out of...
The game. I'm not going imperialist on you.
When you talk about games that you get your money's worth out of, Civ is, like, way up there, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a lot of people, when they're like, oh, I just built a new PC, like, what new game should I get? A lot of times I recommend Civ because it's like you can usually buy it on a discount for like $20 and then play it for like hundreds of hours. So not a big deal for us because we've already played it, but for other folks it could be a pretty big deal. Medieval, like we were talking during the live commentary, neither one of us really resonate with that IP that much, but Sony does need some games to release here over the next few months. I don't know if that one's gonna move the needle.
I don't know if you're gonna get a Crash level of sales out of that one, but it should be all right.
Yeah, or even Spyro for that matter.
Yeah, I don't know how Spyro sold.
I don't either, but I'm guessing it sold better than this is going to sell.
Maybe.
Even with the bigger installed base now for Medieval.
Well, also Spyro's on more
platforms.
Systems, so.
That's a good point, yeah. Do you think it would have been smart for Sony to maybe make this multi-platform?
Nah, Sony doesn't do that.
It doesn't need the money from the sales, I guess.
No.
It needs people to get on its platform. But I would argue that this is not going to bring anyone to the PS4.
Probably not.
It's just keeping existing.
I mean, I do actually know
happy.
a couple people who bought a PS4 for the Crash collection, which is
really
bonkers.
That
to
is
me,
bonkers. Yeah. I don't want to meet those people, man. Or maybe I know them already.
You know one of them.
Oh, really? They're saying The Last of Us 2 is 2 discs.
I'll never know.
That's what they're saying in the chat.
Digital future, son.
Oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter to you.
Nope.
Which, honestly, it just means it's going to be like 120 some gigs.
It'd be like a lot of gigs.
Yeah,
that's
which is
fine.
Crazy.
As long as it's smaller than Destiny 2.
Yeah. Well, I guess at a minimum it would be, 94 gigs?
It'd be in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
80s or 90s.
If it takes up both of the discs.
Here's the thing, like I understand kind of the desire to collect physical copies of things. I mean, I have 1,000-something physical copies of games on my shelves at home, but like those are useless now. Like with all the patching and all the changes and all the updates and everything you need to get these things in workable, or having it on a disc doesn't do you. I have a disc copy of the collector's edition of No Man's Sky. It's useless.
Yeah.
Like if the patches,
old games,
if the patches all go away, it's useless. Like
Yeah.
anything pre this generation, still pretty useful.
Yeah.
But like,
and that's kind of where my collection ends.
That's
honestly,
one of the that's one of the reasons I
hard
basically
copies.
stopped buying physical stuff, except the things I really care about, like the Shadow of the Colossus remaster and the No Man's Sky. Stuff I want to keep collections together, like Assassin's Creed, like that kind of thing. But just in general, buying. I mean, maybe I'd get Last of Us because I do have the Last of Us, like the Survival Edition, signed by all the cast members and all the developers and stuff. So it might be nice to have, Last of Us 2 with that too. But like it's like curating like a collection versus like of like special things like that versus like I just get every game on disc because every game on disc is useless now. Like
It is. It's interesting because...
It becomes an interesting preservation question down the line should they ever take these servers down.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that the fact that the backwards compatibility seems to be... moving your library forward seems to be a feature with both Microsoft and Sony that, like, hopefully it stays updated and relevant and vital, at least until video games end. I don't
It is interesting to look, though. Whenever I moved from Philadelphia out to San Francisco to work at GameSpot back in 2000, I stopped at my mom's house on the way, and I offloaded pretty much everything pre-N64 and Dreamcast and just left it at the bedroom at my mom's house and then drove out here. And so I have, like, just from the N64 and Dreamcast forward in my collection at my apartment now. And it's like... that generation, gigantic collection. The next generation, gigantic collection. Last generation, and then it's just done.
Oh, yeah.
I have a stack of PS4 games about this big. I have a stack of Xbox One games about that big. I have a stack of Switch games like that.
Yeah, that's about the same as
It's
me.
Crazy.
I have a ton for going back.
Oh, my Xbox 360 collection is like ridiculous.
Yeah, my 360 collection takes up a shelf taller than me.
And I'll never have another collection like that ever again. It's
No.
crazy to think about.
I mean, I remember when I thought my 100 Dreamcast games were a lot. And now it's just like, no. I mean, some stuff I don't take. I mean, I know people that have like all their N64 games still in the boxes, which is crazy.
I do. Mine
Like,
are actually still stacked.
I don't. Mine are all just cartridges in a shoebox.
Oh, really?
All my. I mean, I have like 60-some, 80-some N64 games, but they're all in a giant shoebox for my old boots came in.
Mine are still in boxes.
There is no room for one more, by the way.
CIB, I have all my N64 games.
I didn't.
I even have like the stupid like warning leaflet still in the boxes.
The only game I have that's like that is I have a sealed copy of Body Harvest that I don't remember why.
That's good.
I don't remember why.
You were smart back then.
Well, no, it wasn't back then. I got it at some point later. I don't know why, and I think I thought I lost my copy, and then I found it again, so I never opened it.
I mean, there aren't that many.
Yeah, I guess not.
I mean, someday that game might be worth money if it's sealed still.
It's kind of beat up. What's worth money is the Pokemon Fire Red sealed
copy
that I forgot to open and found years later. I'm like, this is worth $200? Come on.
What a pleasant accident. Let's see. PlayStation VR had a little bit of a section in there.
Yeah, not dead yet,
but most of the games that were shown there are games that have been available on PC HMDs for a long time.
Not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
No sign of the Insomniac game, which I assume is still Oculus exclusive.
Yeah.
So.
I wouldn't be surprised if,
What's that
they
called
can't.
again?
Oh.
Something Lands?
You know what? I will say that most of Insomniac's games have the most forgettable titles ever. If they're not Ratchet or one of their big IP, like
Fuse
was one of them. Like they just have.
What was Fuse's original name? You remember that? It had another name before that was way better.
It was like named after the team in the game.
Yeah,
I think
it was. Yeah,
I can't remember. Chat, help us out. Oculus Connect is tomorrow.
Stormlands.
Stormlands.
Overstrike. The Overstrike.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
It was almost Overwatch.
Very
Before
close.
it was Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly. And you may wonder if Blizzard took inspiration from that and ultimately ended up.
Yeah, it was like, you're not using it.
Yep, we'll take it. And it was a better name than Fuse. A billion times better. LA Noire case files coming out for PlayStation VR. Are those all new cases?
No, I recognize all of those from the original game. Those are all the same thing.
Okay. So it's just basically the interrogations are in VR, and that's supposed to add some kind of value.
Well, interrogations and driving and probably the investigation. I mean, it's investigation stuff. Investigation stuff is almost its own subgenre in VR to some degree. It's like, because it just works.
It does, yeah. Especially if you have an HMD that works with room space.
Yeah. Well, also because like, what does a VR headset do the best? Look at things.
Yeah, that's true. That's what an investigator does.
It makes sense. Like, you're looking at clues, you're looking at things like that, and it's like, oh, it's already out on PC. I think it's been on VR from PC for a long time. So it's just another thing that finally made the transition to the other headset.
Yep. Then there was Arise from Studio Piccolo, which looks like a survival game in hell.
Yeah, it looked more like
in the afterlife.
It looked more like a Journey style game.
You think so?
Yeah. Especially because at the end it says Arise, a simple story.
That's true. That's a good point.
Like I think it's a walking simulator with some climbing.
Yeah, with something interesting. But it also like a third-person walking simulator, which isn't very common.
But I mean, look, there's a journey element to it for sure.
Yeah, I got that vibe as well. Call of Duty, the first campaign trailer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I'll just say right now, I was really disappointed in it. I agree with you with your live commentary. You said it seems to be a much bigger human element and some actual characters you may care about.
Third-person cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah, like it looked like the writing and the facial animation was a step above what we've seen in Call of Duty before. Going out on a limb there to say that, but I also feel like there's some camouflaging going on with that trailer. I mean, there was that one quick cut where you could see
the guy's head got blown up.
Well, there was also the scene where it looked like people were in like a gas chamber, and he's like, you decide if they live or whatever. Just a little touch of what the press has been talking about this game. Certainly not representative of what people have been writing about it for a couple months now, where the journalists are like just aghast over the things that they were forced to do. Like, you don't get that vibe from that trailer at all, really.
No, it seems pretty bog standard Call of Duty campaign, just with higher production values at this point.
Do you think that Activision has decided that maybe that's something not worth promoting in the game? I mean, it's not like they put out a trailer that had no Russian in it before.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Doesn't matter, really.
Do you think it would have been helpful for the game's sales if they had shown maybe some of the more controversial stuff?
Probably not. Like, I feel like you're just sort of tempting more argument.
But that generates
and in terms
a
of
lot of interest.
It does, but like I don't know if it's in your favor. Also, if you're going to do that, you probably want to do that closer to launch. I'd say like the second or third week of October, right before the game comes out, and after the argument over whether the Joker movie has influenced people to be violent. I think wait for that to blow over, and then drop your violent Call of Duty trailer, and I think you're gold.
Yeah,
marketing gold.
They do say chemical weapons like a billion times in that trailer.
There is a shot in there of white phosphorus being dropped.
So there was another beta, and I don't want to talk about Call of Duty again, but there was another beta this past weekend where they basically opened up everything in the multiplayer.
We're on like 4 shows in a row.
Yeah, I know. And I had white.
This one's not our fault.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because I had white phosphorus as the kill streak dropped on me, and all it did was like slowly draining my health, and my vision was blurry, but it didn't kill me. I didn't die, which I found weird.
Not true.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, which I found interesting. Anyway, we don't want to talk about Call of Duty again. And then the show was kicked off with, I can't even read my writing. Humanity, which looked bonkers.
This is weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone went to the website and got some more information about it.
It's like a fever dream rave Nerf battle.
Yeah,
something.
It's really bizarre, but it looked exciting and something new and different.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice new visual thing.
I also like seeing developers use technology in different ways.
I'm still questioning why it's rated PEGI 18.
Yeah,
like there must be some. I mean, it might just be because there's like violence to humans, but like,
what if the whole game is just like punishing hordes of humans.
Maybe that'd be a very different take on that the hell after party question.
Right. I mean, imagine. I mean, you could do some pretty crazy stuff to get to an M. Like if you could just have like those hordes of people just going into like a big grinder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was similar to like kind of how you can use Sims as a torture device.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It appears this might be a little more graphic though.
I don't know.
That trailer didn't
Sims
look
can
graphic.
get pretty graphic.
Really? There's no blood though, right?
No, but there's no blood. But you like see people cry and slowly die in a closet as they piss themselves. I mean, psychologically, it's pretty violent.
Yeah, that's true. So what did you
God,
think?
I used to love removing the ladder from the pool. Like that was
waiting
the
for them
best.
to drown.
Yeah, that was the best. They run out of energy and just slowly die.
Terrible, Matt.
Sometimes these people would move into the house. Move into the house. There's no way to get rid of them. The only problem is that like then the fucking tombstone pops up somewhere you don't want it. You're like just stuck with a tombstone in the backyard.
Right next to the diving board.
Yeah. It's a good warning, but like clashes with the decor.
Okay, so what did you think? I mean, my first impression is that was really short, way shorter than I thought.
It was like 22 minutes.
Was it that long?
It was like that.
Didn't seem like it. It worked great within the context of doing this on GameFace, and I think everything went off pretty flawlessly. Great job in there, Adam, by the way. I hope that the audio
I
mix was
looked
good.
at the clock when it ended, and it was 1:22.
Wow.
So.
Okay. So it's longer than I thought. Maybe it just flew by because it had a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't boring.
No, even the indie stuff that they showed was worth checking out.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it didn't have a lot of stuff that I'm like super excited to play.
Yeah, the PSVR stuff was kind of filler. I get why it's there, but
I mean, I don't care about the Katamari guys thing really. Humanity is an interesting thing, but interesting visual. But I don't know if I'm kind of over sort of the lo-fi toy game thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sort of like, all right. That's fun. That's a fun thing to play with for like 5 minutes, but now I'm out $15. And I don't really want it on my hard drive anymore.
$1 per minute. That's not a great ratio for
No.
video games. That's for sure.
Well, it depends. I mean, $1 per hour, I guess, would be better.
Yeah. That's what you'd hope for anyway. That's 60 times the value of $1 per minute. So, I mean, I would give it a B. I think if it weren't if The Last of Us weren't in there, it would probably have gotten a C-.
I would probably go more like C+. But yeah, I'd go C- without Last of Us 2 for sure.
Yeah, it's not the worst one. So I would say the order of best to worst was second, third, first for the state of play so far.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But The Last of Us, I mean, it was worth the time spent just to check that out to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much why everybody was here,
Yep,
I think.
For sure. And it looks great.
Yeah.
So good stuff. So there you go. Sony State of Play for September 24th. 2019. It's time to move on to the bulk of the show. We're going to kick things off with an indie game, a quirky indie game.
Yeah, now time to put my foot in my mouth after I just said that.
Yeah, you just said that you don't like toys and you don't like these quirky indie games. And we're going to talk about Untitled Goose Game.
Part of it might be that like I just played one of the best ones, so...
Yeah. Oh, really? Do you feel that way? I've not got a chance to play this yet.
I love it. It's,
okay.
It's stupid, and it's one joke, and it's like an hour long.
It's really only an hour.
It's about an hour long. I mean, the main game is an hour long. After you finish it, because every area you go into, you get like a to-do list before you can move on to the next area. And after you finish the game, you get a bunch of other to-do lists, so like harder things to do that require taking items from other areas and bringing them to the previous areas. And then there's a speed run list as well.
What is the objective of the game?
To be an asshole.
That's it.
Like that's pretty. I mean, really, like it's a quiet little British or English community, and you are an asshole goose. Like that is which might be a redundant statement, but like
it is because geese are pretty much the worst.
And the whole point is you are going through this town, and you are tormenting the people who live there, like to make progress through the town. So you can see there you can walk, you can run, you hold the trigger, and you open your wings and you press the X button on the Xbox controller and you honk. And then you can also hit B and grab things with your beak, and that's pretty much it. So every time you go into the so there's your to-do list. You get in the garden, get the groundskeeper wet, steal the groundskeeper's keys, make the groundskeeper wear a sun hat, which means stealing his hat and throwing it into the lake so he can't use his hat anymore. It's just like constant, and like everyone who sees as you go through the game, you slowly like piece together that like. This is not the first time this goose has done this.
Oh, really?
And everyone hates the goose.
Oh.
And, like, people have, like, no goose signs. And like they like as soon as they see you, they'll like put their hands on their hips and be like,
So he's notorious.
Yes. Because the thing you're supposed to, there's a thing at the end that you're supposed to steal, and like you have to steal this thing at the end and take it all the way back to your lair. And when you get there, you realize that there's like 15 other of those things, and so you've done this a lot. Like
That's funny.
This goose is a terror.
Wow.
So it is very funny. You get to relentlessly fuck with people as a goose. There are only 4 areas, and really one of them, and it's like there's like this area, and like a street area with a shop. And like a pub, and then there's a final area, and then you don't really do much in there except get the last item, and then you have to run back through everything. So there's not that much to do. You can finish it in like probably an hour, I would say, an hour and a half for most people.
Because people are saying it's like 2.5 hours and complaining about that length.
I mean, I finished it in about an hour and 15.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends how good you are at puzzles and maneuvering the goose, I guess.
There's a challenge in maneuvering the goose?
Well, like you can't get killed, but like...
Do people try to kill the goose?
No, like, but they will chase you out, and they will make you drop the thing you're trying to move. Like in this, one of the things you're supposed to do is like say, grab the gardener's rake and drag it out to the lake, and or like this. What this goose is doing here is you're supposed to set up a picnic. So you have to steal a bunch of food and his thermos and his jam and a bunch of stuff and leave it on the blanket. But
who are you setting up the picnic for?
Nobody.
You just do it.
Just to be an asshole.
Just to take the stuff and make
like,
it a pain in the butt.
So if he sees you do that, he'll chase you, and if he sees the picnic blanket with all the stuff on it, he'll start taking the stuff and putting it back where it belongs. So there is a stealth element to like not making sure that like at least distracting them like with turning the water on there, so he has to go turn that off while you drag his rake out.
I mean, it really is like a stealth game, isn't it?
It is. It's a stealth puzzle game.
Yeah.
But it's fun, especially if you've ever had to deal with a goose.
Which?
Because it's very true.
Oh yeah,
like,
they're so mean.
They are, and they don't. I mean, they don't like think this clearly. I mean, obviously geese don't plan, but like geese don't have to-do lists usually. But
and from what I've heard, they cannot write.
No. Although you never see the goose write, you just see things get crossed out, which a goose might be able to do. But it's a lot of fun. The goose has actually a lot of personality, considering
the animation of the goose is awesome.
Very well done.
The way the body goes and the neck goes like a different.
And like little things are, like there's a little boy later who like is terrified of geese, so you just get to scare him and chase him around and like make him you can like pull his. You can pull his shoelaces apart, and he'll trip and drop his glasses. And you can take his glasses and hide them somewhere so he can't see. And like if you wait until he's in the puddle, like on the area, you can pull his shoelace and he'll fall in the puddle and get all. I mean, you can just relentlessly fuck with people.
Wow.
It's so much fun.
Huh.
Because it's just so true that's what geese. So you see trying to get away with the jam, and he didn't. So
he got it back.
So the gardener goes to put the jam back.
How much is this game?
$14
for an hour.
I think it was $14.99 on. Maybe it's $20, but on sale for $14.
Oh my gosh, $20 for an hour.
Remember. Or maybe it was $15 and it's on sale for $12. It's on sale for like a small discount on the Epic Store. That's where I got it. It's not on.
It's on all platforms.
No, it's on Epic Store and Switch.
That's it right now?
Yeah. I mean, it's coming to Steam eventually. There's a page, but there's no release date for it. I would assume eventually this will be on everything. Like, it's just one of those games that I'm sure everybody would want to put on their platform one way or the other. But right now, it's just Switch and Epic
Interesting.
Store.
Is it an Epic Game Store exclusive?
Yes.
So it's interesting that Epic is okay with it also being available on Switch.
I don't know if they have any say over it.
Yeah. Huh. I would love to see one of those deals that the
Epic Store
publishers sign with.
Borderlands 3 is an Epic Store exclusive and is on everything else. So,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's just PC only, really.
Huh.
But there is a page for it on Steam, so it's clearly coming eventually.
Now, here's the big question, and I'm guessing a lot of people will ask this, is it just worth watching someone play it on YouTube instead of paying for it?
I mean, it could be, but at the same time, I enjoy doing the things. So I enjoy. I mean, I've spent $15 on worse movies.
Oh yeah, we all have, for sure.
And like if you do the optional stuff at the end, it's easily as long as a movie.
Yeah.
So, and it's a fun toy. I can see going back to it later.
It is a toy.
Again. Yeah.
This might be a fun game to play with other people.
Definitely.
Over.
It'd be fun to have people play if they come over and say, dude, you got to try this Goose Game.
I also think
What's it called? Untitled Goose Game.
That's what it is, yeah. I also think like my wife might enjoy playing this with me.
It's non-violent. I mean, I guess you're basically just annoying people a lot, and it's very British in places. Like the humor is fairly British, and there's a lot of like kind of slapstick stuff here and there.
Who would have ever thought that a game with this premise would we be talking about it on GameFace? But it's really making a splash right now. I mean, it's kind of the big thing of the week in games. It's also been a bit of a slow release week other than Zelda this week, so that might have something to do with it.
This is just the right kind of quirky, and it also plays really well.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been executed very well, the concept. So $14-ish?
Something like that, like 15-ish bucks.
If it's $20, would you tell someone to buy this?
I don't think I would have if it was $20, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't $20.
That's kind of the breaking point there. 14 even to me is like the perfect $9.99 game.
I paid $14 to see Man of Steel. Like there's no rule here. Like I've done way worse things for an hour for $15.
I just think in the long run, as far as generating revenue from this game, I think they would make more money if it were $10 instead of $14.
I don't think I agree with that because this game's selling like crazy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's fucking hilarious.
Well, a lot of people are talking about it. I don't know how sales are yet.
I think it's doing just fine. And if it's not, they got 2 more platforms to put it on, Steam to go live.
Yeah.
And they already got a shit ton of money from Epic.
Yeah, they're not worried about it.
Yeah, they're good.
This would have been a smart get for Apple Arcade.
Yeah, although I wouldn't want to play this like with a touchscreen or something.
Really? I mean, you could just tap where you want him to go, and better with a controller.
You got to manipulate stuff too much.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to do that.
So there you go, Untitled Goose Game. They never gave it a real title.
Yeah, and you got to sneak up on people, so the analog control is.
Right. Yeah, you got to creep. Never gave this game. I think it became an endearing thing when they just the working title was Untitled Goose Game.
Well, because what else could you call it that's better than that?
You could just like give the goose a name. And
but then you lose kind of the quirk of it. Like,
it's also nice because you don't have to explain to people what it is.
Yeah, Untitled Goose Game is.
That is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Seeing the goose swim around with the radio itself. It is great.
That's very important because when the radio's on, it draws the gardener, and if you short it out in the water, it's quiet.
Does it not kill the goose if it shorts out in the water?
Goose is immortal.
Right. Well, they also have like the insulation from their down or whatever, so I guess it wouldn't.
You can't kill evil.
All right, so there you go. Untitled Goose Game.
Definitely
on PC.
A game that proves that they hate it when you honk at them. Definitely a game that proves the connection between birds and dinosaurs.
Okay.
This is what it would be like if a raptor was loose in like Birmingham.
With a lot more blood, I have a feeling.
A little raptor.
Yeah. Then we get the M
goose
rating.
could rip your fucking eyes out.
Yeah, I know. They're scary, man. And they're aggressive and mean and big.
Look,
and
they do
strong.
the wing thing. Like,
yeah, they'll beat you with their wings.
That's one of the because early on I was sort of like, God, it's weird that people aren't more afraid of this goose like coming right at them. It's like, no, this goose has done this like 12 times,
and they're over it.
They know the goose isn't going to hurt them. It's just going to make the day worse.
Right.
Like you're locking people in garages.
Oh, really?
You're like fucking with people's camera setups. You're stealing their glasses.
Wow.
I mean,
They get pretty creative with it. Then.
Ruining their day at the
restaurant. There's the outhouse. What do you do in there?
Oh, no, that's just his gardening shed.
Oh, I thought that was the outhouse.
No, that's a sun hat. So one of the things you're supposed to do is steal his hat, so he has to put the big sun hat on. That's one of your goals.
Oh. All right, so there you go. Untitled Goose Game, PC and Switch, $14-ish.
Something like that, yeah.
And Matt recommends it.
I definitely do.
There you go. All right, let's move on. We're going to kick it retro here for a little bit. The Sega Genesis Mini came out last week. It's been getting great reviews for the most part. I think the common kind of thread is it's not as good as some of the older microconsoles for the Genesis, but it's better than some of them.
I don't know what microconsoles they're talking about for that because they've all been crap up until this. I mean, the M2 was still good, but it wasn't really the same thing. It was a kind of a standalone box for it. But like this is the first official thing branded as a Sega Genesis that I think has nailed the sound emulation because it's the same piece. It's M2. It's the M2 guys doing the sound emulation. And I'm very well acquainted with the Genesis and the Genesis sound, so I loaded up my standard the standard games that are on this that I know the sound by heart, which is Sonic 1, Streets of Rage 2, and Space Harrier, and it all sounds flawless to me.
The sound chip in the Genesis is becoming this kind of way to produce electronic music that's like kind of a big thing right now.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because like in the 16-bit era, it was sort of like the argument between like whether Genesis music or Super Nintendo music was better.
Was an argument.
Was a big thing.
Yeah, I remember.
And I always found, I mean, the orchestral stuff on the Super Nintendo, there was no real equivalent on the Genesis. Like something like ActRaiser, you just couldn't do it on the Genesis. It was something that was kind of unique to the Nintendo games. But Genesis had that funkier electronic sound.
Yep.
And like
that's why people are using it to make
Yuzo Koshiro worked miracles with the Shinobi music and the Streets of Rage music.
Yep.
The Streets of Rage music slaps to this day. Like playing that some of that stuff now, even just playing it to test it out. It was like God, this music's good. Like he made amazing stuff in there.
A lot of it comes down to the songwriting because a good song, you can play it on a keyboard, you can strum it on a guitar, you can play it on a piano, and it's still going to sound good.
Pull up if you get a chance. Pull up the Revenge of Shinobi track, Chinatown, on like YouTube or something, and just listen to how many layers are in that thing. Like
that was
crazy.
Kind of an advantage that the Genesis had.
Yeah, and like
it had what 24 channels.
I want to say it did. The Super Nintendo had, I think, fewer sound channels. Had a couple fewer sound channels, but it didn't make.
But it had. I think it had more instruments that it could natively use, though.
But the thing was that like all the instruments sort of had the same sound to them.
Yeah.
Like you can always tell which system the music is from. And Genesis had more
Easily.
of a kind of a flang kind of
like
to
a
it,
flange,
which I always just felt like was used more creatively for the most part than what happened on.
It has a distinctive sound, and that's why people are gravitating towards.
And that sound is more popular now in a way that because Super Nintendo's stuff sounded good, but it has like this sort of, it feels like it's being played through a cloth in a way. You know, it's kind of got a muted sound. It doesn't have the punch, the crackliness that like the Genesis stuff does.
It's crisper.
So if you're dealing with like, if you're making like chiptune stuff today, I think you're either going like with a full-on 8-bit sort of like NES look sound, or you're going with Genesis stuff, because Genesis is, where the hell was that? That's the one real disappointment, is that Revenge of Shinobi is not in the U.S. collection.
Yeah, this trailer's for the Japanese release.
It's a good lineup, but like it's certainly short of like what I would consider a definitive Genesis collection.
Other than that game, what else is
it should
missing
have
that's
that.
Egregious?
It should have this. It should have Target Earth. It should have Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, even though I hate those games. The fact that they're not in there,
maybe that's
weird.
why they're not in there.
No, I mean Sonic 3 is very popular. Sonic 3 is considered by a lot of fans to be the best Sonic game, even though they're wrong. It should still be there.
Yeah.
I would love if Celeste was there, but that's real obscure.
Are there any shmups in the U.S. version?
Yeah, Darius is in there.
Okay.
I mean Space Harrier, if you want to count that. And I
Right.
think there's a Thunder Force in there. It's only Streets of Rage 2 is in there, and I would put 1 and 3 in, no question. I mean, the collection you can get, the Sonic's Sega Genesis collection that's on, I think, PlayStation 4 and Steam, is a much more complete collection. I mean, it has all 3 Phantasy Stars as opposed to just Phantasy Star 4.
So which would you recommend somebody buy? Or the micro console? Or this or the collection?
I mean, I would, if you want, like, just straight-up Genesis awesome... and you're not like a micro console collector, if you don't want to play with like, I mean, not even that, because I have heard that there's an input problem with this system, where like if you're using the standard 3-button controllers that come with the system, at least in the US version, I think the Japanese one doesn't have it. I don't remember. I can't remember who was. I think Heather Alexander was testing it out, but like. Maybe it was Holly Green. Somebody on Twitter I was reading was testing it out, and I didn't get to test it out because I just plugged my 6-button 8-bit DOE controller directly in, because it was the only thing I had that had a long enough USB cord to reach from my entertainment center to my couch, and that works flawlessly. I know, but apparently there's like some double input problems with the standard controllers that come with it. At least
probably because they're cheap.
They are. I think they are. But I didn't even take them out of the box because I didn't need. I already had the 6-button controller. So apparently there's a problem with that. Gunstar Heroes is great. That's still a great game. But like I feel like there's some really interesting obscure things in here. And if you're interested in that stuff, go for it. But if you're just looking for a definitive sort of like mainline Genesis collection that gets all the major hits in there, I think the Sonic Sega Genesis collection that's already available does a better job.
Does it have more games than?
I think it may have more games. or at least it has an equal number of games. And also, if you get it on Steam, Steam Workshop has tons of ROMs. Like, Sega doesn't care. Like,
Really?
You can just go in on Steam Workshop, and they have all these other games. If it's not in the collection, it's probably on Steam Workshop.
Wow.
And you just put it in, it becomes like an alternate mode for various games. Like, you pull the menu on that game is you go to like a shelf and you pull out the games off the shelf, and you can like hit options on the game, and in the options you'll see the ROMs for each like various game, and you can get just about anything you can think of in there. The one real missing game from all of those collections is Crusader of Senti, which is the greatest Zelda ripoff of all time.
It must be some kind of a licensing problem.
I think Sega owns Crusader of Senti. I think they just don't care.
Oh.
It's a real obscure game. Like if you ask someone what's your favorite Genesis game, maybe 1 in 25,000 will say Crusader of Senti. It's not a seller. It's like you want to put Beyond Oasis in there, basically.
Now, could you get that
Japan
ROM?
got Phantasy Star. Oh, was that Phantasy? No, that was Langrisser.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. That's a cool game.
Could you
too.
get the ROM for that though on Steam?
Yes, no problem.
Wow.
I think so. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played that, but yeah, and even if you don't have it on Steam, like the collection, even without the ROMs, the collection on PS4 is very well done too. I mean, I got no problem with any of that stuff. But you got Wily Wars is I don't think that's ever been released in a collection before here.
There's 40 total games in the US version?
Yeah, 40 games in each area. There's Beyond Oasis with the Japanese title. Beyond Oasis is great. Like that game still holds up.
What percentage of the games would you argue still hold up?
I can't really make that. I mean, maybe I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff that I have a lot of like fondness for from back in the day that I could barely play for 5 minutes. It's just like I think even Comic Zone, I loved back in the day because I was an idiot. And now I play it, and I'm just like, this is crap. Like, the fact that you lose health for punching things is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I mean, we
not
were
fun.
young, though. I mean,
it was sort
kids
of
love Fortnite, man.
Yeah, I know. It was sort of an assumption. Also, the inclusion of Tetris is bizarre. Like, I don't know why you wasted a slot on Tetris.
Yeah, why would you
That's
do
not
that?
like I don't have a lot
You
of
can get
Tetris
it anywhere. I can get it on my phone for free.
I guess you want to hear that Tetris music through the Genesis sound chip. There you go.
I guess that's a good point, actually. How much is the Sega Genesis Mini?
I want to say it's 69.
Ooh.
It's 69, 70,
I mean,
70,
that's
80.
about the price for most micro consoles.
I pre-ordered it through Amazon months and months ago. I don't remember how much I got, but I think it was 70 to 80 in there somewhere.
I just kind of wondered if after the debacle that was the PlayStation Classic, if maybe future micro consoles would come in a little cheaper than what they had been costing.
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, it is I think you're locked into a certain price just because of the engineering, the tooling, and the production of these things. I mean, it is an adorable little Genesis.
It's very cute. Yeah.
How
cool would it be if they released a little mini like Sega CD?
They did do one.
Oh, they did.
They released in very limited quantities, I think, to press and like influencers, but it's
really?
not being mass produced.
Does it work?
I don't think it works, but it does add Sega
Sits
CD
on
games
there.
to it. I would totally get that. There's
Yeah.
some great Sega CD games that are mostly forgotten now.
That'll be worth a lot of money on eBay, is my guess.
Absolutely. One thing I would say we're never going to see is a 32X.
Yeah.
Because no one can. I mean, there's
no
probably,
point, really.
There's probably some people who like to play Knuckles Chaotix, but you know what? You could probably just stick that in the existing system and call it a day.
It's not even worth pursuing.
No.
So how do you feel about your purchase?
I feel pretty good, but it's more like it's nice to have the little Genesis, and you can turn it on and play it. And it's hooked up to my little, it's hooked up to my HDMI switcher, so it doesn't take up any extra, holes or any slots in my system or whatever. And it's, it sounds good. The interface is fine, but there's 5 other ways to play these games. Some of them for free.
Yeah, I mean, all of them for free.
Yeah, and the Genesis collection is a really comprehensive thing, and the Steam Workshop makes it a giant piracy bonanza anyway, which Steam and Sega apparently don't care about.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, it's are you still gonna make money off Super Thunderblade?
No, you're not.
So why not? Just let them go nuts, I guess.
Because maybe you'll sell more of
and the other thing that Steam Workshop has is a lot of people have they call it chill mode, which basically just makes you invincible. Like you can activate a thing that basically makes you invincible, gives you infinite lives.
For every game?
Almost every game has a mod for that. And like the Phantasy Star and the Shining Force games just have things that make all your characters invincible, or give you infinite money or whatever.
So you can cheese your way through everything.
Cheese your way through, just sort of roll through. Because look, not everybody has time to play Phantasy Star 2 today.
Because it's 60 hours?
At least that.
Probably more than that.
And also, Phantasy Star 2, if you don't know, you have to map the dungeons on graph
yourself.
paper.
Yeah.
Like if you don't map those dungeons, you are getting lost. I
Yeah.
promise you. Or I mean, I'm sure there's like maps online you can find, but you're gonna need to like mark your progress through them because those things are giant labyrinths of hell.
Yeah, and they all look the same pretty much.
Yeah, and so like you're just walking on the same tube texture for like hours.
Yeah,
and because the random battle frequency is so much, like you can die just from like attrition basically over the course of like taking too long to complete a dungeon. So I totally support the use of cheats to get through these. We're not children anymore. We don't have hours and hours of free time anymore.
Yep.
Go ahead and do whatever you need to do to see these things again. I think that's fine. But it's a fun little thing. I mean,
should people buy it?
If you're a giant Genesis fan and you like the micro console thing, sure.
Do you think you would only recommend people to buy it if they're not going to open it? I know that sounds weird.
Maybe,
but it's just
like
a collecting thing.
I don't know. I think you're losing a lot of the appeal if you don't get to take it out and see the little thing. Like that's the cool part.
I mean, a lot of people that are going to buy it never had a Genesis.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, it's like it's there. I got it because I'm a big Genesis Sega nerd, and like otherwise, like that Sonic's collection. I have that Sonic collection on 3 separate platforms.
Yeah.
I have it on 360, I have it on PS4, and I have it on Steam, and like. I don't need this at all. There's almost anything on this that I haven't played regularly or don't have access to on another platform. It's because I don't care enough about it to do that. Because I also have a lot of the original cartridges.
Yep.
But I got it because it's like I like to support the micro console thing. I think it's cool. Certainly, it's not as useful as say the Super Nintendo because the Super Nintendo was was from a. It's a system that whose owner has been much more slow to release, a decent back catalog of all. Certainly the only place you're going to get a couple of those games legitimately, especially now that the Virtual Console is shut down. We're going to have to wait around for them to update that Super Nintendo online thing on the Switch, which apparently is not going to be monthly anymore. And you're just going to take what you can get because that's how Nintendo rolls. They're going to throw you some scraps every once in a while, and you're going to be thankful for it.
I think we're used to that at this point.
Pretty much. But I mean, it's also like, I'm looking forward to the TurboGrafx thing coming out next year. It'll be fun to have like the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic and the Genesis and the TurboGrafx all lined up next to each other on the console, on the entertainment console. Like that's a cool little thing. Is it a must buy? Is it a necessary purchase? Not unless you're a hardcore Sega fan. But like, if you are a hardcore Sega fan, it's good. It's gonna live up to like what you expect the emulation to be, and it all sounds great, and the interface is fine, and it's still fun, and it has all the suspend save stuff and all the things you need for each game, and it's fine. I will say, having played the Super Nintendo stuff on Switch, I got real comfortable with that rewind feature real fast.
Oh, yeah. You get used to it real quick.
So that would be maybe a thing I wouldn't mind having on the Genesis Collect, but it's, it's obviously not a necessary thing.
Okay, let's rank the micro consoles. I'll start. I'm going to go top to bottom first. I'm going to go...
So we're good. What, Super Nintendo... There's 3 of them, right?
There's 4.
What's the 4th?
PlayStation Classic.
Oh,
what do you mean? That was going to be my first pick, Matt.
I forgot it existed.
I don't blame you. So for me, SNES Classic, Genesis, NES, PlayStation.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, interesting to see everyone else's ratings.
Only because I'm so tired of NES games.
Yeah.
Like the NES Classic is a great collection of games that I've played to absolute death.
I mean, if you look at sales, that's the winner by a country mile.
I mean, that's your nostalgia boom right there. But like, in terms of things I would want to sit down and play, definitely that same order.
Yep.
And in fact, really, I'd only want to play 3 of them, and the PlayStation Classic can kind of.
I mean, the PlayStation Classic now is like $15.
I have it. I got it for, I think, $15 on Amazon a couple months ago. And I forgot, and it showed up like 4 days later. I'm like, what the hell is it? Oh. Right. I ordered that. Okay. You go in the closet.
That one will never be opened, absolutely.
That one is waiting to be a collector's item a couple generations from now.
Yep.
Not games console generations, human generations.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about a game that you, the Sifters, inspired Matt to play. In our chat, we hear a lot of people talking about how awesome Final Fantasy XIV is. We've got a lot of questions about it at the end of the show over the last few episodes. Everyone basically imploring us to play it. That was never going to happen for me, but it did happen for you.
Well, I tried to play. I got it for... It was on sale, big on sale back in February, and I got it then, but I never really tried it.
And then you did.
And so
40 hours later? Is that right?
Well, yeah. So the job I was going to do fell through because they decided to go in a different direction and they didn't need me to write the script anymore. So I'm like, well, I got a lot of free time. What should I do? I guess I'll just dive into Final Fantasy XIV and see if I can get to this Shadowbringers thing. So initially, I was going to do the thing where you buy the skip to jump ahead to the expansions. But what happened was, you have to manage your account through this thing called MOG Station, which is a subheading of Play Online, which is apparently still a thing, that only seems to handle Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV. But here's the thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised that still exists, or they haven't renamed it.
But here's the thing. The interface and the way you work with it, the UI, is pretty much still stuck in about 2002.
Oh, really?
The website is a garbage. And
I'm not surprised by that at all.
So here's how this works. If you buy it through Steam, which I did, I bought the thing through Steam as a bundle thing. And if you want to subscribe to that, you have to go log into your Play Online account. You have to go to the MOG Station section, which is the Final Fantasy XIV section, and you're going to have what's called a service account. Under that account, the service account that's there by default is a free trial of Final Fantasy XIV, which is not the Steam version you bought.
Oh.
You have to, and if you try to put your codes in, your CD keys from Steam on that, it'll say it's not real. It's not a thing. You have to create another service account and add in your codes through that, and that becomes your link to Steam subscription service.
Oh.
And so here's what happened. So once that's set up, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go buy the skip to get my character up to where they need to be to do the thing. So I went and I go into the optional items, and you find it in there, and you buy the thing, bought the skip, go through the thing, get it, it's not there. Why am I not getting it? Why am I not getting it? Because when you go to buy an item, this tiny little drop-down menu is up in the corner, and it defaults to the first service account, the free account thing.
Oh, geez.
You have to, and if you don't know about that, I accidentally bought it for that free account that didn't have the expansions attached to it. And I emailed their service thing, and I'm like, what the hell? I did that, and they're like, oh, we can't refund, can't transfer anything, can't do that. I'm just like, really? Like, fuck you.
Okay, well, I'm calling my credit card company, and I'm charging it back.
So hopefully I don't get banned for that.
You might.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't help. They wouldn't do anything.
That's ridiculous.
And I'm like, well, maybe you could change.
Because of your crappy interface.
Yeah, the interface is garbage, because it's not that, it's not even that you have to pick the service account. It just defaults to the service account that I already had, and not the one I'm using normally. Like, if you're going to do that,
at least giving you the option.
It needs to. Well, the drop-down menu needs to be blank, and then so if you try to hit continue, no, you have to pick a service account before and remind you that you need to do that. It's basic.
It's a simple way to fix it.
Basic. I have never had that problem with I've subscribed to dozens of MMOs. I have never bought the wrong item for the wrong account under the same account. Only Square.
No, it's insane.
Only Square could make this fucking hard. It's so stupid. So I was so angry about that I said, you know what? Fuck your skip thing. I'm not giving you another $18 or whatever. Yeah. I'm just going to play the fucking game. So now I'm 40 hours.
You tortured yourself.
I didn't, because it's not a bad game. So I'm 40 hours in. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the vanilla basic story. It's fine. It's very standard Final Fantasy. It's sort of like, oh, you're accidentally chosen, and the crystals chose you. You got to collect all the crystals before the the primals, which are the summons. The summons are kind of the big bosses that are being summoned as they're like ancient gods that It's a little weirdly colonialist, actually, where there's primitive beast tribes that are summoning the old gods to ruin your cities, and I'm just like, okay,
yeah.
But basically, you end up joining this organization of world police called the Seven Scions of something or other, and it's fine. It's like standard Final Fantasy, and here's the thing: it's so standard. That's almost the charm of it to me.
Huh.
Where
because it's like the older games.
Yeah, it's
and the new ones aren't.
It's Ivalice, which I already like. Ivalice is my favorite Final Fantasy setting. Which is from Tactics and 12, and so it's nice. It's it's fantasy stuff. There's some there's some magitech, there's some steampunk, but no one's flying around in weird ring UFOs. No one's calling fossil and lossile and all this shit. I don't know what the words mean.
Yeah.
No one's trying to convince me that this giant industrial factory is part of your your fantasy world. Like, it's just crystals and monsters and swords and magic and wings, and it's great. And it's like, it's kind of nice to just play a fantasy game in a Final Fantasy series. It's like, oh, right, this is what it used to be. And like, there's like the basics, like the bad guys all look like Organization 13 from Kingdom Hearts. There's like a weird thing where like,
but you haven't played the part of the game that everyone's
Shadowbringers. No, Shadowbringers is a long way off.
Because that's what people were saying you needed to play because it would change your mind.
I'll get to it. So,
are you gonna keep playing?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's not my game of the year or anything because it's just pretty bog standard. But it's like, it's pleasant.
Are there a lot of people playing the stuff that you're playing?
Tons.
Okay.
I see people all the time. There's always a queue to get online. It's usually like a queue of like 20 to 50 people. Takes like a minute or so waiting. But trust me, that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
When I started it up back in February when Shadowbringers was first coming out, it was like 20 minutes of waiting to get on. They're doing very well, apparently. People have all come back to this thing. But I'm not like disliking it. There is a thing where like the headquarters of that Seven Scions place, you have to continually go back to get a mission from this woman whose name I don't remember, and there's no fast travel point there. You have to either go to the castle city. There's 3 main cities. There's a desert city, a castle city, and a jungle city. I don't remember the names of any of them.
Because the names are probably
right.
so obtuse.
But I do remember the name of the stupid place I have to go to meet this woman over and over again, called Vesper Bay. And the only way to get there is either go to the castle city and take a ferry over there, which is faster if you have fast load times, or you can travel to the desert city or to Horizon, which is the closest fast travel point to that, and then you take a chocobo over to there, which is like a 2-minute ride or something, and then you have to go. Most of the buildings in the game are part of the world. Like, you just go up to it, the door opens, you walk in, talk to people,
they're there,
and go out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a place, especially if it's story related, you have to go up to click the door, and it'll give you a yes/no entrance thing. So the place you have to talk to this woman who's the leader of this thing, it's in this place with no fast travel point. You have to travel at least a minute and a half to get to, no matter wherever you are. You have to go down into a pub downstairs. Click on the thing, enter the pub, go through the pub, click on another door, enter her office.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, why can I not? And the thing is, like,
I'm never playing this.
She gives you, when you join the organization, she gives you a link pearl, which is like a magic radio. She can talk, and you're constantly going out completing missions, which are endlessly like, we need to help these people and do this thing. You get there and it'll be like, we don't know if you're up to the challenge, so we're going to give you all these tests. And like, you have to do like 7 quests that are like tests to see if you're good enough to do that.
No,
and then
thank you.
And then there's certain points where like, the other characters you're with that are part of the same organization are like, this is stupid. We're gonna go do a real thing. You stay here and do all their bullshit. And one time Lingam literally said, we don't have time for this busy work. New kid, you do the busy work. We're gonna go do the real shit. I'm like, all right, sure. So I just went around hunting turtles for like an hour.
That's MMOs to me.
It's also Final Fantasy. I mean, it's just like the constant distraction. But it's like, and at the end of these things, you're little kind of groups, and like you always end like an instance thing or like a dungeon you have to do with other people, which is those are basic but fun. It's fun to see other people and hang and do some co-op stuff. But like at the end of it, and she will call you on the stupid link pearl and be like, "All right, great job, we got another thing we got to do, but it's best if I tell you in person." I'm like, "No, just tell me on the fucking phone. I don't want to go all the way back to your stupid pub." So yeah, it's great.
That's great.
It's great.
Somebody actually brought up a good point. Congrim1 is mentioning that this was originally a PS3 game.
Yes.
And so maybe there's some hangover from that.
I mean, they did completely remake it from the ground up. I mean, matter of fact, the premise of the main story is building on the fact that the old version of Final Fantasy XIV was destroyed.
Oh.
Like the old version of the game being destroyed and the world being rebuilt like 5 years ago is actually like
in the plot.
It's actually part of the plot.
Okay.
That's why it's called A Realm Reborn. One of the tricks is like almost nobody in the world remembers the old world, but they like the Warriors of Light, which are always part of the mythos of Final Fantasy. They're the players from the previous game who won the final battle and won and saved the world, and the world remade itself and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty clever. Like,
how much is this per month?
Depends like how many months you subscribe to at one time.
If you go month to month.
month to month, I think it's like $12 a month or $15
Typical.
a month. It's normal. Although I will say, when I hit level 30, they gave me 15 free days.
Oh,
so every
you get rewarded.
You get rewarded for
succeeding
leveling
with
up.
free time.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
So I mean, I just bought like 3 months because I figured that's how long it's going to take me. And,
or you'll burn out in that amount of
maybe,
time.
But I mean, I don't mind it. Again, it's a great game to play with other things on. Like I'm listening to the podcast. I'm listening to science lectures. I'm just burning. I mean, I'm speed reading. I mean, I get the gist of stuff. I don't listen to all the dialogue. I don't read everything. I'm just like, okay, gotta stop the thing. This is I don't think you can do it. I'm gonna have to test you. Yeah, I know. I get it. I'll go to the marker. I mean, I am assuming that the expansions are more engaging. Certainly, Shadowbringers must be, but I have a little list that kind of tells me where all the quests and how close I am to things and what you get to various things. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through the main story, and then I got Heavensward and
Shadowbringers,
Stormblood.
Oh right, there's 3 now.
The third one, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, it'll be if I really do like it, it'll be good to have a character ready to go for the next one. I assume they're going to do another one.
Oh,
if
they will.
If they got praised so hard for this.
Yeah, I mean, if it's that successful, there's that many people still playing.
So I mean, I don't mind. And again, I really like the world. Like as much as I am annoyed by having to go back to that stupid desert place to talk to that woman and the rest of the group. I can't remember her name. Her name is Milia. I don't know. I don't remember anybody's name in this game. I don't know. I'm just burning through it. I'll get there eventually.
Here's the question maybe a lot of people are asking. This or Vanilla WoW?
Oh, this.
Okay.
Look, Vanilla WoW just annoys the living shit out of me.
People are loving it, though. It's like huge.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of complaints about it. Here's the thing. Like, fun of it was like it was good then, but like so much quality of life has happened since then. That like
I thought they were going to incorporate some of that stuff into
a little bit, but I mean it basically ended a certain I think it's Burning Crusade era.
Well, then it's not Vanilla WoW if you.
Well, you don't want vanilla WoW.
You're right.
It's
yeah.
like anything's vanilla WoW compared to post Wrath of the Lich King. Really.
Yeah.
I mean it's nice to have that to go back to if I want, but this is a more engaging thing. So
if you can sort out the account issues, you recommend this for people who like MMOs.
I mean,
it's not like a transcendent one though, where like someone like me would.
I would
play
recommend it for someone who likes Final Fantasy and misses when they were about fantasy.
Okay, right on.
Like that, I think this is one of the few worlds in video games that I feel like I play this. I'm like I wouldn't mind living here.
Now the game is free. The base game's free. At this point, or no?
I think you still have to subscribe. I think, yeah.
Right, but you don't have to pay like $50 to get the game and then start paying $12 a month.
I don't think so, no. But I think if you do the free trial, I think you have to go through that first service account, and then you have to buy the expansions through the Play Online website and not Steam.
Pro tip.
I don't think it works that way because they wouldn't take the Steam codes on the free account service account. So if you want to buy it through Steam, you have to create a separate service account. And then I think you only get the basic sort of like free trial up to a certain point, which I'm pretty sure I only just passed. So like I think the trial's to like level 30 or something, and I think I'm about to hit 40. I'm only doing the main story quest, by the way. I'm leaving everything else except my class quest alone, and I'm way over leveled for everything. I mean, you get 100% XP bonus leveling up to 60 or 70, and so they know, they know where you're trying to go. It's just a matter of like learning to manage the fast travel and realizing early on, it's like, oh, I can just transfer crystal to crystal because early on you're like, oh, like fast traveling that crystal costs like 300 gil, like that's all. Now I'm just like I have 100,000 gil without even trying. I'm just like, gone, you go, just do it. I don't waste my time. I'm just teleporting everywhere. But they constantly do the thing where they're like, all right, now you just finished this weird menial task and now you have to go to the other side of the world, and you're like, okay, click. Zoom. Luckily everything loads pretty fast. But
or in my case, uninstall.
I cannot even imagine trying to play this on console. It's rough.
I mean, MMOs are tough on console. That's just a known thing.
Yeah, I mean, but I am playing it on PC with a controller. Suck it.
Oh, interesting. But you still have the keyboard there.
I use the mouse for like various inventory stuff and things like that. But like mostly I'm gonna run around with a controller. Because you don't need, it's built for that. You just hold the right trigger and do your moves, right left trigger do the other moves. Like it's fine. It's
modifiers.
It's not the most complex combat in the history of MMOs.
I mean, that's again MMOs in a nutshell. Another reason why I'm not a big fan.
So I'm continue. I mean, I'm not going to have as much free time all the time as I did this week because I basically had my work canceled. But I'll go back to it. Periodically. I'm trying to like kind of do a little every day. I'm trying to like get to one dungeon because every once in a while you get through a big chunk of quests and then you'll get to a dungeon that you have to play with other people and go through the dungeon finder thing, the duty finder.
That's probably the funnest part of the game, I'm guessing.
Sort of. I mean, I enjoy just being in the world, running around.
That's
like
great.
But like doing so I try to get through like that's kind of like what I use as sort of my barriers because like I'll play through the whole thing and usually it's like late at night and it's hard to find people to play late at night, so I'll stop at the dungeon and so the dungeon will be the first thing I do the next day because there's tons of people online in the evening. And that's kind of like some natural mark. But I'm running to the point where that's the dungeons are trying to happen more and more. So I'm gonna have to start just powering through.
Yep.
So, but it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Like
you're having fun.
I'm having fun. Certainly as long as I have other things to entertain me while I'm just transiting. But if this is as fine as it is right now, and the expansions just get better and better, like I can see it getting pretty good. So we'll see.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I'll get this thing done in time for the game of the year in December, but like I'm gonna try.
You got a few months. We'll see. But I'm glad that someone's.
But it's some busy months. So.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's time to move on. We're gonna circle back around to Borderlands 3. We talked about it last week. Matt and I were.
This is another reason I had free time was because I stopped playing this game.
Yeah. So Matt and I last week. I think I was farther than you last week, and I had not got to like the end game part of it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go continue playing because I will say this about this game. I had already played it last week, I think, more than I had played any other Borderlands game. I had usually quit by that point, but I went back after we recorded the show, and I played it pretty hard for another 2 days, and I got to a point where, and I hate to admit this, but I'm going to, the game just got too hard. I got to the point where you'd make it through a level no problem, probably not even dying the whole way through the level, and then you get to that end of level skirmish where they just throw dudes at you like huge tanks, and it got to the point where I was having to play them several times to beat them, and usually when I did beat them, it usually just ended up being like a matter of luck of whether I beat it or I didn't beat it, and I just got frustrated with it and I just quit. I quit playing the game. So 0 for 3 on Borderlands for me as far as getting through the entire game.
Yeah, I kept hitting bosses basically where like I didn't have the right guns to beat them.
That's another problem.
They're basically immune to my guns.
Yep.
And like the third time I hit that, I was like, you know what? Like I could do this because I'd done it. It just takes forever.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and you have to kind of get lucky and just hope that like you don't get trapped in a corner at some point.
Just like running around and like I can wait around, just wait for my super to
or hope you don't get in that situation we talked about last week where you're downed and the only thing left is the boss. There's no minions.
And it just hit a point where I'm like, you know what? Why am I playing this anymore?
That's exactly the point that I reached.
I don't think I got as far as you did, but it was just a point where I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah, I just wasn't having fun playing it anymore. No. I mean, I will say I did have moderate fun at first. Like,
yeah, I didn't hate it, but it's just like I had better things to do, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I had other games to move on to, but that's the case every week. And if a game's really good, I'll still stick with it, and I'll just sacrifice sleep to play that other game if I need to. But this game was not worth sacrificing sleep to me. I saw a lot of people making comments about I saw maybe an editorial. Yeah, it was an editorial where someone wrote that they played this game with the sound turned down. And I have been doing the same thing. Like you were saying earlier about playing Final Fantasy XIV while you listen to podcasts. That is exactly what I was doing with this game.
I was doing that with this too.
It just got so inane, and I didn't care about any of the characters, and the plot just seemed pointless and dumb. And I was just like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'll read the subtitles, and that's good enough for me. I had heard enough of the voice acting and everything at that point. Like, yeah, again, it's just, for whatever reason, this franchise just eludes me as far as understanding how someone would want to continue playing it other than based on the idea that, oh, crap, I spent $60 for this, and I'm going to get my money out of it before I stop. And look, I've been in that position in my life where I'm like, oh, I made a mistake and I bought this game, but I'm going to play it, damn it. Like, I can't get the money back, and I'm going to try to get my money's worth out of this thing, so I get that perspective. But in the position I'm in, having to keep moving on and playing new games. It just wasn't worth it to me. The sacrifices that I would have to make to keep playing it, they just weren't worth it.
Yeah, life's too short for Borderlands 3.
It is. I mean, that's a good way to put it. Like, I just felt like, oh, I'm falling into this, like, game addiction cycle. Like, seriously, I'm like, games like this are kind of the games where I think the line is drawn in the sand of whether maybe you have a problem with gaming.
I'll put it this way. I have had a better time playing Final Fantasy XIV than this.
Wow.
Like, I don't miss this. When I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV, I'm like, I could be playing Borderlands 3, but I'm glad I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I didn't like Borderlands 3, but I had enough, and I felt like I had not been keeping different elemental weapons.
The game doesn't tell you that, though. It never says, like, hey, you might want to keep a diverse arsenal.
I mean, that's kind of been true of Borderlands, like,
I've never got
years.
to the point in any of the prior two where it mattered.
I finished the other two, and so I definitely ran into that, and it was more prevalent in the expansions. But like that wasn't really an issue in the game early on, so I thought maybe it just wasn't going to be. But then you start running into stuff where it's like, yeah, if you don't have electricity,
a powerful shock rifle
or something, yeah, if you
to
don't have
take down
shock, you're not gonna,
shields,
yeah. So,
that's really the key. And
then
I would say anyone who's about to start this game, find yourself a really good shock weapon.
Keep shock weapons upgraded, or keep a powerful shock weapon on hand.
Because if not, you're going to get to a place where you're going to face enemies with crazy shields.
And it's probably not as bad if you're playing with people, because probably someone has a shock weapon. Yep. But like, I wasn't.
Yeah, playing by myself, it just became so frustrating. Maybe if there's a lull, although that's going to be hard to find here in the next like 3.5 months, but if there is a lull, maybe I'll just jump on and start playing co-op with some people to get to the end of the game. But I have no motivation to keep playing it. I just don't.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is like, well, okay, now I do get past it, then what?
Right.
I get more guns to play more things that I don't really care about playing.
And the loot,
so I can finish it and then play it again? No, I'm not going to do that.
It's like I beat the last boss I beat, the drop. I mean, there was literally like probably 25 or 30 drops. And so I'm sorting through all the loot that dropped with the boss, and I found 2 things worth keeping. And I was just like, what the hell am I doing? And it's such a pain in the ass.
It's like the purples and the legendaries do drop more often, but they're also way more useless than they were before.
Like I spent like 20 minutes sorting through the drops after I defeated a boss, and then I ended up with like 2 things that mattered, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like... I don't know. It doesn't respect the player's time that well.
This is the other thing. Is like when you're fighting like these normal enemies, you can take their shields down like that.
Oh yeah.
And then suddenly you run into a boss, and the shield, like you're taking off like a pixel.
Oh yeah.
Per shot, and I'm like, I don't even have that many bullets. I can't do that.
And then eventually you just get caught in a corner, or you
caught on some scenery, or
and you die.
Or they hit the one. I mean, periodically it's a product of having kind of randomly generated enemies. Like periodically, I'd walk into a room.
Get shot once and die.
And 2 guys have electrical abilities, and boom, like just
you're
gone.
Dead. You're just laying there on the ground. Yeah. Like I'm not going to begrudge anyone who loves this franchise. I would say that personally, it's hard for me to understand why people are fans of this franchise.
Yeah,
I can understand people being okay with it and being like, oh, it doesn't bother me that much. But to say like this is like one of your favorite gaming franchises, I can't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I see it if you like have like a regular group you play with, and
maybe
that's the fun of it. But like in general, like as much I put in my time on Borderlands 1 and 2.
So did
like, I wish I didn't.
I put in my time.
I wish
here.
I didn't have to play this at all. Like if I wasn't doing this show, I would have skipped this game, and I would not have felt bad about it at all.
I would have played it no matter what, because I'm always hoping that the next one is going to click with me.
And 3 years from now, it would have been like $5 on some sale, and I would have gotten it then. I would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
So
they were smart to put this out in September.
Oh, it was exactly when it needed to be.
Yeah, because if they had put this out like a couple months later when there's a lot more competition, I wonder if the reviews would have been as kind.
I mean, I think so, but like I don't know how well this would hold up to competition. But then again, there's not a huge amount of competition.
No, Q4 is not really that crowded this year, relatively speaking, comparing it to prior years.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're really just up against like Death Stranding and Call of Duty.
Yeah, as far as like big games,
big AAA
that have an ability to sell like 10 to 12 million.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
That's
it.
what I mean.
Pokemon, but that's
look,
a whole different
Pokemon's
audience.
a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'd play Luigi's Mansion 3 twice over this at this point, but like, it's just not. They're not in competition for the same market. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not gonna.
Yeah, they're not.
You're not comparing Borderlands to that if you're Gearbox or Nintendo.
Nope,
you know, it
you're
doesn't
definitely
matter.
not. Nintendo was not afraid to put out something. Would not have been afraid to put out something at the same time as this.
And they weren't. They put out Demon X Machina
and Astral Chain.
Yeah,
I prefer to mention Astral Chain.
Demon X Machina is the one that came out the same week.
It is, yeah.
Curious what sales are going to be on that.
Abysmal is my guess. The reviews, I think its Metacritic is like below a 5 or something.
Wow.
So yeah, it's.
I mean, I can't disagree.
No,
but...
I can't. I said that when I played the demo. I'm like, I'll never play this game again. I get it. I know what it is. I have no interest. Thank God Vincent jumped on that grenade and did the game eval for us, which you can find on sifted.net right now. All right, let's move on to our last topic of episode 183. We're going to talk about, hands down, the biggest release of the week. It's the remake of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, originally a monochromatic Game Boy handheld game that has been upgraded in, at least visually, for the Switch. Matt, the game has scored really high, like every Zelda game does. It's hard to think of too many Zelda games that didn't score high.
I wish the whole game looked like this scene.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Although I don't mind the art style that much. It grew on me as I played.
I don't mind it, is about as far as I'll go. I don't really like it very much.
It's a little weird.
I get why it is the way it is. My main complaint is I hate the vignetting.
The vignetting?
Like the way the foreground and background go out of focus.
Yeah.
Like I understand why it's like that, but I hate that. Like there's no way to turn it off. It drives me, makes me feel like I'm losing my vision.
I also have a feeling that might be the cause of the god-awful frame rates.
Yeah, it drops.
My
amazing.
God.
It's amazing how much it drops.
Like this.
Yeah.
They couldn't get it to run decently.
Like just walking into the village tanks it. It's weird.
It's crazy, man. And it seems to happen when it's transitioning from that kind of semi-blurred into like the sharp view. After it snaps into view, it starts to chop.
That and also just transitioning from like major area to major area, it happens.
And I would argue as well that this actually does affect gameplay at times. Like I've gotten hit by enemies because of the frame rate stutters before. Because the sword is so short, you have to get so close to enemies and attack. And as you play, you get really good at it. You get the timing right. You're just like whack, move up, whack. You know the exact distance. Every once in a while, you get one of those little stutters that would just throw you off a frame or two, and I ended up like slicing too late and like running into the enemy. The gameplay in this game, to me, is kind of hot trash. Like this is a Zelda game that incorporates elements of the Mushroom Kingdom and Mario.
Yeah, I didn't remember this game too well, but like. I was shocked again, to remember playing. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a ton of Mario stuff in this.
And there's like side-scrolling platforming, and the jumping in this game, as I said, is hot trash. Trying to I still don't know if you can actually jump catty-cornered. Can you? Or can you just jump it like north, south, east, and west?
I don't.
The game doesn't require you to jump.
I don't think I've ever tried it.
But
yeah, because you don't need to, because it was on a grid before.
Yeah, it was built on a grid. But it's just the jumping is very awkward. It's hard for me to tell. Like I have fallen to my death in this game. I don't know how many times because I hit the jump button too late. Like I guess I got too close to the edge of the ledge, and the jump button just doesn't work.
The funny thing is all that is way more forgiving in this than it is in the actual game.
It is, yeah. I mean, the original, the platforming and stuff like that was almost kind of preordained, and there's a vibe of that in this where you're just like either you make it or you don't. There's really no fudging it, but then every once in a while you will fudge it, and like you'll start slipping on the edge of a hole and like
get
fall
away from
in,
it. Yeah.
and sometimes you can run out of it. But for such a simple game, like it's not great to play, and it should be butter.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of demands on the control scheme in this.
All the jumping doesn't really bother me. It's really the frame rate that is the problem to me, and also 25-year-old hot take. I think Link's Awakening is a pretty mediocre game. Like I know that there's a bunch of people that consider it the best Zelda ever made. I
mean that's going too far, but
it's a very prevalent opinion. I think it's just sort of fine or okay for the most part. Although over the years, so many subpar Zeldas have been released that I'd say it's probably in the top third of the series at this point.
Well, this is one of the early Zelda games that established the template that it was going to follow for years and years.
This is a follow-up to Link to the Past. I mean, it's yes, in the original, I don't know what they're doing here, but the original, it was very much intended to be the Link from Link to the Past, having this happen to him. And the funny thing, of course, is like it's a dream, but like hence Link's Awakening. But a lot of characters that show up in the dream show up in the rest of the Zelda series. So, yeah, and it's like it's fine. I do think it's kind of interesting that like, you know, I mean, other than the visuals, the game's pretty much unchanged.
Oh, it is.
And like,
yeah, it's pretty amazing how straight of a recreation it is.
Yeah,
and I get that because it was being done out of house.
Mm-hmm. So you don't want to let them mess with it too much?
I think that's part of it, and I think they didn't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
Look, they want more work from Nintendo after this.
But it's pretty impressive that like you can take this quarter-century-old handheld game and just kind of give it a facelift, and it still pretty much works.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's impressive about it, and I think that's why people maybe have an affinity for this release, is that all these years later, it still pretty much holds up.
Yeah.
It's still fun. It does have the Zelda template. It has dungeons. Basically, you have to collect like 8 instruments, so there's 8 main dungeons. You get an instrument at the end of every dungeon. There's a lot of like mini bosses, sub bosses before you fight the final bosses for each dungeon.
Like I'm kind of hoping that something that something so vanilla Zelda selling as well as this is so far might convince Nintendo that maybe you could just make a fucking Zelda game again.
I mean, honestly, my biggest complaint about it, and I like this game more than you do as far as like the original. I don't think it's the best Zelda game ever, but I do think it's in the top third of Zelda games.
No, I would say that too now, but like that's in a world post, the terrible DS games and Skyward Sword, and like there's a lot of bad Zelda out there now that wasn't out when this was at the time. I was like, oh, this is okay for a handheld, but like it's not really a great Zelda game. It was one of the things I was shocked by when I first got on the internet a few years after that, was how many people just thought this was the pinnacle of Zelda. I'm like, this is not better than Link to the Past.
Oh no, Link to the Past is probably my favorite 2D Zelda.
I don't see how you can argue anything's better than Link to the Past in the 2D realm for Zelda.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's still Ocarina and Link to the Past.
Yeah.
If anyone can beat that, I don't know. I mean, but I'd say like a Link Between Worlds is better than this. I really like that one.
I liked it a lot too. I think they're pretty close. I'll say that.
This one's more like it's almost like what I was saying about Final Fantasy XIV, where it's like, it's sort of nice to just play something that is what it is.
Right, and it's not overly complicated and cumbersome.
Because again, I've complained about Nintendo doing that for years, how they won't just do it again but better. They have to reinvent the wheel.
Yep.
And it's like here they just did it again, literally, but looks better. Not even anything else better, just looks better. The Game Boy version runs at a better frame rate, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And like it worked, and it's fine, and it's selling, and just you make another Metroid, you cowards. Like,
how do we get to Metroid?
Because Metroid, I mean, not that Prime 4 isn't coming or whatever one day, but like, Samus Returns just, this is pretty much the same treatment as Samus Returns.
Yeah.
But like, I could use more of that. 2D Metroid stuff is great, and I'd like to see them do more of it, and I'd like to see them, learn finally that like you don't have to reinvent things over and over again. You can just take what worked before and make it really, 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 really good, like Bloodstained did.
Yeah. Here's the Mario stuff.
Yeah, the Mario stuff. Which was in the Game Boy version.
It was, yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of the unique quirks about this release is that it has elements of the Mushroom Kingdom.
And some of that comes from, I think, being a Game Boy game, reusing assets from the Mario games on Game Boy. I mean,
speaking of which.
But the real rub here is there is no way in hell this game should be $60.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding,
this should be $40.
Ding. And this is still a handheld game.
And if it was 2 years ago, it would be on the 3DS, and it would be $40.
This game is like 8 or 9 hours long.
Yeah, it's a good Zelda template, but it goes fast.
Because it was a handheld game,
Yeah.
and it's still a handheld game. So here's where we're starting to get to shady Nintendo. So we're very happy that Nintendo has united its development pipeline and is creating games for just one platform now, because we're getting more software. However, this is a handheld game. This is a game that, if the 3DS were still viable, it would be on the 3DS instead of the Switch. And it would cost...
In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if this started life as that.
Yeah, and it would cost $34.99 or $39.99 instead of $59.99. This is a total rip-off cash grab, because Nintendo knows that Zelda fans are so desperate for anything Zelda that they will pay whatever price they have to pay to play the newest game.
And there's no point.
It is dirty.
And there's no point in waiting, because by the time it's $40, it'll be like 3 years from now,
right.
4 years
yeah,
from now.
and so you know. It's not like with other games where you're like, you know what, I'll wait 2 months and I'll get it for $40. Like, that's not going to happen with this game. It's dirty. Like,
Right there is where the frame rate tanks every time I come around that corner.
Yeah. But it's... I am disappointed in Nintendo for this, that it would do this. That, like, before I played it, I was like, maybe there's all this extra I knew what the game was, obviously.
There's the dungeon creator or whatever.
Which is
but
totally
it's just nothing.
worthless.
Yeah.
Dude, the dungeon creator, it just lets you snap together rooms from the game. You can't do any customization at all.
Yeah, it's no Mario Maker, that's for sure.
I mean, and that's another thing that's a little dirty about this. Like, I feel like Nintendo, when it's been talking about the Dungeon Maker, has kind of been using similar verbiage as it uses when it promotes, like, Super Mario Maker.
Oh, for sure.
And to me, that's also dirty. I'm happy that Nintendo can put out a lot more games now, but it has to price them appropriately. Just because all of a sudden your handheld team is making games that can run on a handheld that projects to a TV screen, that doesn't mean that it's worth $60. It's still a handheld game. There's a reason those games are priced lower.
But at the same time, it's selling like crazy.
I know,
so
but
it doesn't
because
matter.
people have no willpower. Seriously, though.
Yeah.
But Nintendo is preying on that, Matt. It knows that its fans, and particularly Zelda fans, are suckers. Let's just be honest. Like, I'm really surprised. And look, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I mean,
I don't even like this one
but
very
you
much.
have to. You're going to talk about it. It's the biggest
but
game
I probably
coming out this
still
week.
would have. Even
Right.
If I
I
wasn't.
mean, Nintendo is preying on that.
Because, like I said, like you've got that established thing where it's like, well, if it was going to be cheap soon, I might wait. But like,
It's not.
or maybe I would have put it on my Christmas list or something, so I wouldn't have to pay
Let
for
somebody
it
else
myself.
be
Let
the
somebody else
sucker.
buy it. Nintendo games are good for that.
They are, yeah. So I have problems recommending people buy this game.
I mean, you know what you're getting into if you do buy it. It's.
I mean, a lot of people don't. I mean, that's why we're here, because they're not old enough to have played the Game Boy original, and tracking down an old monochromatic Game Boy to play the original isn't something a lot of people are going to do.
Well, didn't they do a re-release of it on the Game Boy Advance or something?
Did they?
I swear I've played this again.
I haven't.
At some point.
Maybe you're on Game Boy Color?
Maybe. I mean, it's been a while. Certainly been long enough that I didn't remember how to what to do with that fucking raccoon.
Oh.
Like, I'm like, I can't believe I'm stuck already. It's been like 10 minutes.
Well, the hints for that aren't exactly overt.
No, not tops.
Yeah. But, if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm a Switch owner, but I have other platforms, like, I would have a hard time telling them to spend $60 on this game. I just would. Mm-hmm. There are some magic Zelda moments in this, like there always are, touching moments with some of the characters in the game. The characters are interesting.
Music's really good.
The music is great. That's probably the best part of this game, is the music. It is awesome. For some people, that might be worth the extra $20 alone, honestly. I mean, just being perfectly honest, for people who really love Zelda music, the extra $20 that you're paying for this because of your Zelda tax might be worth it. Because you're right, the audio is great too in general.
Yeah.
But the gameplay, even though it's not that demanding, is still kind of janky to me. The graphical issues.
I would really love to see them find a way to smooth out the frame rate on this. Like,
they might be able to still.
Yeah.
Like, the game's just out.
Or just give me that Switch Pro already.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. I don't even know if it's really a question of power with this. It feels like it's like an issue of programming to me. I mean, look, it's not drawing that much on screen at any given time.
Any modern game has a whole lot of stuff happening under the hood that you just can't evaluate from a player position. Like, it's definitely a power thing. There's no reason you would choose to have your game chug like that. So I'm hoping they can at some point fix it. Or I guess the Switch Pro, theoretical Switch Pro could fix it, but then, like, will I ever go back through this again? I don't know.
Oh, I won't. Twice for me, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm done. I played it when it came out back in the day.
I've definitely played it twice. I don't remember why I played it the second time. I think it was...
Maybe you wanted to see if people were crazy for saying it was the best Zelda ever.
I feel like they did a second release of it. They did like I think they did a Game Boy Color release of it, like DX or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember something like that.
I guess my final statement on this would be that ultimately I'm disappointed by it. I'm enjoying it. It hasn't been $60 worth of enjoyment for me, and it ends really fast, and there's really no incentive to play it again.
I would be pretty happy with it if it was $40.
Oh yeah,
if I just paid 3DS prices for it, I'd be fine.
And do you think Nintendo's ever going to do that, or is Nintendo just like, you know what, every game for Switch, $60?
Have any games been less than $60?
Not first party stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when it sells like this, why
oh wait,
would
maybe
you?
Captain Toad on Switch was.
Toad, like some of the remakes tend to be, but
some
again,
of the Wii U stuff.
Tropical Freeze, I think, was $40.
Maybe,
or maybe it was full
I don't know.
price.
I think that was full price.
I can't remember on that.
Yeah,
some of them are low, but again, I don't know. I guess they thought they put enough effort into this to make it worth it.
I disagree with that assertion.
I also would disagree with that. I don't know. It's better to pay an extra $20 than not get to play it if you want to play it. But
that's a good point.
It's just, yeah.
I mean, Nintendo knows what it's
doing.
It's
just Nintendo being kind of, like you said, it's Nintendo being kind of dirty, and I don't like that.
I mean, it knows how much it sold this for originally.
Yeah.
And now it's saying it's the same game with prettier graphics, and we're going to charge
if you remade this into like Twilight Princess level kind of thing, and it was like a full 3D like.
I mean, I expected, I knew what the art style was. I still expected more from this. Like, I thought there would be maybe an extra dungeon, or there would...
No, they were always pretty straightforward as a straight remake.
Yeah, that's where me trying to not pay too much attention to pre-release stuff can hurt you sometimes.
Yep.
I try not to have any expectations when I go into playing a game for evaluation, but I had already played this game. I had no choice. So going on a media blackout wasn't going to be a help for me, and I think that's been unhelpful for this game was me knowing the prior game. I wonder if people who never played the previous game are going to be as irate as I am over the playtime. Or if they're just like, wow, I finished a Zelda game in like less than 10 hours. That's like kind of cool. I don't know.
I don't think it is. I mean, that is really looking on the bright side of life right there.
Yeah, but somebody's bringing up a good point in the chat. Congrim1, again, you're killing it today. This compared to something like Red Dead Redemption 2 at release is absurd.
Yep.
It is. It's absurd.
Even Borderlands 3.
Right. Or Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like, any game, it's absurd to pay $60.
Or Demon X Machina.
Yeah, we have to draw the line there. But you know what? At least that game's, like, huge.
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
You want it to end, but it won't.
It won't. I mean, that's maybe something positive I could say is I didn't want it to end.
It doesn't outstay its welcome.
That's for sure. You're not going to be kicking it out of the house after a long weekend. That's for sure. So
time to go back and reset the screen now.
Yeah, but I am really I'm not the type. I try not to criticize people's reviews because it's their opinion, and saying someone's opinion is wrong unless something's factually wrong is bullcrap. So I'm not going to specifically say, oh, this website or that. I'm just generally surprised at the fact that pretty much no publication called out its length as a huge issue, or that Nintendo is charging console prices for a handheld game. Mm-hmm. Most of the complaints I saw, and all the reviews are glowing pretty much, most of the complaints I saw were about the frame rate, and that was pretty much it. So, I don't know. That's why you watch GameFace, people, because we give it to you real. Sometimes you may not like it. I mean, honestly, I'm sure some Zelda fans are going to watch this and are going to hate us for this segment of the show, but we're telling the freaking truth, and we're going to continue to tell the truth. The other thing you get on GameFace that you don't get everywhere else is you get to see the actual games. It's really crazy how no podcasts show gameplay.
Are they afraid of the copyright strikes?
Maybe.
You see all that stuff with YouTube this week where a bunch of people got
Oh, our episode
authorized.
last week, by the way. Oh my God, it got
But I'm talking
hammered.
about like where a bunch of people got their check marks taken away because they said that YouTube decided to randomly change how you verify people, so it'd be easier to find the real person you're looking for. But like they took check marks away from people who have like common names as their YouTube channel, and like so now there's like 14 Greg Millers or whatever. And then like there's one YouTuber CGP Gray. Who that's his YouTube channel and the name he goes by. He got his account suspended for impersonating CGP Grey himself. He got suspended for impersonating himself. I'm like, how are you supposed to win against these idiots who run this fucking website? It's astounding. And like everyone's like looking at so you want to take the check marks away if you have less than like 100,000 whatever subscribers or stuff, and they're like, that's just going to make it harder to find the actual people you want to find. Like if you're not, and like they're looking for like you have to justify like you're aware people that are aware of you on social media outside of YouTube. So if you don't have a following outside of YouTube, you can't get verified, and like all the new policies were like everyone's like this just makes the thing you're stating is the goal. All you're doing is making that harder now.
Yeah,
and like you just wonder what in the world is going on at Google that whoever's in charge of this YouTube stuff, you're like you're all out of your fucking minds.
Do you think podcasts that don't have gameplay, do you think people watch them or they just always listen to them?
I think most people just listen to them.
Yeah, it would be weird to just sit there and watch people talk without any B-roll for
I mean
hours.
I can't imagine for watching something for 3 hours that isn't story driven without doing something else while I'm doing it.
Yeah, or watching it in chunks.
Yeah, I put stuff like that on for while I'm doing other things. While I'm
podcasts are great for that, man.
Gone through a whole lot of podcasts setting up that Transformers room in the last couple of weeks. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
it's nothing like listening to people complain about politics while you're trying to figure out how the 14th frickin' Transformer works now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't watch a podcast that was just camera cuts.
No,
I would just listen to it. But I don't know. People are different. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I mean, they'd have to be some charming motherfucking
They'd
podcasters.
have to be. Or it'd have to be a really attractive girl. That's about the only thing that I think would make it happen for me.
Or Patrick Klepek.
Yeah. So anyway, look, I know there's some Nintendo fans who are going to be pissed off about what we just said about Link's Awakening, but we tell it like it is, man. And someday you're going to thank us for it. You're going to thank us for saving you $60.
I don't care how much you like that game. The idea that game would cost more than $40 is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, without a doubt. So anyway, there you go. The remake of
We're
the Legend
trying
of
to
Zelda,
help you.
Link's Awakening. We like it. We just don't think you should pay $60 for it.
No,
and
but you're going to.
And you're going to.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. So like, you're going to. We already did. I would probably anyway, even if I was or put it on a Christmas list. But that doesn't mean we can't whine about it.
I think that's.
So here we are.
I think that's the perfect idea. Actually, is put it on a Christmas list
Christmas,
and let somebody else jump on that grenade.
Let Grandma pay $60 for it.
She won't know any different. All right, it's time for our trailer of the week. The trailer of the week this week is for a Terminator game. Why is it that there are no Terminator games? Why has it just disappeared? There was one in the 360 era. Was there one then?
Yeah, there was a
like Rise of the Machines or something.
Something like that. There was a Terminator. There was the Terminator 3 game. Was out early X-Play era. That was like.
I remember that one
because Blair Butler did the review. It was very funny.
Yep, she did. It was very funny.
There was. I
don't think there was one last gen.
If there was, I skipped it.
Look,
there certainly wasn't a Terminator Salvation game.
No, there is only one Terminator game on Sifted. We've been loading games into the site now for like 5 years. So definitely in the last 5 years there hasn't been one.
I had the Sega CD game, which was based on the first movie. Which had great music by Tommy Tallarico, which was the first game music I ever played in my car when I got my driver's license. By the way, if you want Tommy Tallarico to love you forever, make that the first thing you ever say to him.
I just had this total mental image of a 16-year-old Matt Kyle passing his driver's test, getting in the car, being like, I'm on the road now.
On the road.
And then just flooring it and driving with your hair blowing to video game music.
Well, if you pull up This Way from the Sega CD version of Terminator, good music for
It
that.
is. But most people, it's like AC/DC or something.
I mean, that was in there too, but this was I just put this in the rotation.
That's so awesome.
I had that, and I had music from the Ys 3 Wanderers from Ys TurboGrafx CD version.
That's great.
And sometimes that shit would come up in like mixtape things, and no one knew what it was. They're like, oh that's cool. It's like,
I think I may have told this story maybe on Invisible
like,
Walls.
oh, you got instrumentals on here. I'm like, yeah, it's a really obscure artist.
I was having a fantasy draft one time with people from when we used to work at G4, and I just had like my iPod back when iPods were a thing, just on shuffle. And the draft had taken like 12 hours because it was like this all-day event where we'd eat awesome food and make great drinks and everything. And it got towards the end of the night, and there was only like 8 of us left or whatever, and we're like just hanging out, like talking or whatever. And one of the songs from Wii Sports came up on my iPod, and it started playing. I didn't even notice it. And somebody goes, Shane, is this Wii motherfucking Sports? And I was like, it is. And I'm like, what the hell? He's like, what the hell, dude? How did you recognize that?
At least it wasn't the Wii Shop music.
Yeah. Actually, that's not too bad. I like the Wii Shop music. But But anyway, I'm flummoxed as to why there are no Terminator games. I don't know why. It is an IP that is ripe for video games.
Is it?
Yes, of course.
What would you do with
Sci-fi, blowing up robots, like, yes.
I mean, the crux of the Terminator movies is being chased by a monster. So, like,
that's a
harder thing to make. I mean, there have been Terminator games for a long time, and people just sort of gave up because, like, you had the Sega CD one, which is a permutation of the Genesis one, which is it was also a Game Gear game. There's a Game Gear version of that game I could finish in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That was the whole game, just boom. There was Bethesda made an early one, around 88, 89, which was an open world based on the original movie. Open world, like you get in cars and hotwire cars, and the Terminator just sort of like followed you through shit. It was crazy. It was actually like really crazy at the time. It was like almost a prototype Daggerfall in some ways. They tried for a long time. Like it's just not.
Gave up.
It's not you can't translate the movie premises very well. And the other thing, the only time you really get successful is if you do something like what Terminator 2, the arcade game, did, which is just gun down endless endoskeletons.
Yep.
And even that doesn't really work once you get to the modern day stuff where you're just sort of like the T-1000 is sort of popping up here places. You have to shoot it a bunch of times till it falls over. Like it's not interesting, you know. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do one for this new one. I think it makes more sense to do stuff like putting the Terminator in Mortal Kombat and shit.
Which is happening. Using
the character for that, the Terminator characters in Gears 5
Yep.
make a pretty good amount of sense.
Yep. But anyway,
Linda Hamilton would kick ass in the Gears universe. We know that.
One brave publisher has stepped up, and it is going to publish a brand new Terminator game. It's called Terminator Resistance. And as always, get your questions in the chat. We'll answer with Q&A right after this, and go at Sifted Games so we can pluck them out from the other comments. But anyway, here's the debut trailer for Terminator Resistance.
Here they come! Ariel! Take cover! Rocket!
Having fun yet, Rivers? Through here! Come on! Follow her! Jacob, get up!
Jacob Rivers, marked for termination.
Are you all right, Jacob?
We intercepted some interesting data. It turns out you're part of a prestigious group. A group of people that Skynet marked for termination.
HK Ariel flying by. You need to find a way to get out of there.
I want you to take a team of my soldiers and fight your way to Skynet's defense grid.
Watch out! More of them up here!
It has to end tonight.
So I guess the best thing I could say is it doesn't look terrible.
If you want to stride purposely down a hallway, we got the game for you.
December
2nd. December 3rd. That's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, they just announced it, and it's coming out in like a couple months. It looks like.
I mean, they got to get in for the movie coming out, but
it looks like another one of those licensed cooperative shootery things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how co-op that looked, but
there was that one shot where it showed like the 4 people running into battle. Usually that's a tip-off that it's a cooperative game.
Or there's more people than just your character in the story. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this game is ambitious enough to try netcode.
Maybe not.
We'll see.
All right, let's get to some questions in chat. As always, go at Sifted Games. Here's one from Not Circ. Matt, when you hosted your last game night, what games did you play with your guests? How often do you host game nights?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You've talked about them on the show before.
Well, I go to game nights at other people's places. Usually.
Oh.
I don't really host them very often.
You should with your crib.
Yeah.
You could have one hell of a game night.
Still working on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've done the game nights I've gone to are more like pen and paper stuff, not video games.
You do movie nights.
We do movie nights
at your place sometimes.
It's at someone else's.
Oh.
We do it at the place at the guy who has the 120-inch 4K projection screen. That's where we do the movie nights.
Makes sense.
But no, it's a pretty regular. I missed this weekend's, but it was Kevin Smith stuff, so I didn't care that much.
Yeah.
We watched the whole Dark Crystal series, like doing that, and we're gonna watch all the Star Wars movies over the course of October, November, and run up to Episode 9. And we mean all of them. We mean all the prequels, the originals, both Ewok movies.
Are you going to watch them in order?
We're all going to watch them in story order.
Okay.
So Episode 1, 2, 3, Rogue One. 1, 2, 3, Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, Ewok 1, Ewok 2, 7, 8, and then we're going to go see 9 in the theater.
Awesome. Think you'll be able to make it through all of them again?
Done it before.
Some of them are a little hard to watch now.
I'm not looking forward to I tried to. We have
prequels.
We do have bad movie night rules. For some movies if they're bad, and I tried to argue for bad movie night rules for Episode 2, and it was not accepted. I'm like, if there's one movie in the series that deserves to be heckled, it's got to be Episode 2. But what are you gonna do? But yeah, when Episode 3 came out on DVD. On New Year's Day, I was staying at my friend's house down in San Diego, and I'm like, we're watching all 6 on New Year's Day. And I got up at 7 a.m. And put Episode 1 in, and no one else came downstairs until about halfway through Episode 2, and stuck their head in like, I'll be back in an hour and a half. So yeah, it was mostly just me for the early prequel stuff, but I was like, I've been waiting my whole life to watch the whole series all together, and I did. I fell asleep during Empire Strikes Back, which was my favorite one.
The best one.
My favorite one at the time. But the problem was when you've memorized a movie, you can easily just fall asleep because you've seen it so many times.
You know what's coming.
But we made it. We're doing it's just going to be 2 movies per night for like several weekends. So we're not
make it.
We're not marathoning like 7 at a time or anything.
That makes it doable. Next up, Justin Horman. One of my early gaming oh my god moments when gaming was when I first saw giant cats talking in the intro for Wing Commander 2. What is one early gaming memory that you hold dear, even if it didn't really amount to much?
Probably one of my early favorite memories was the end of Bionic Commando on the NES. I was playing with my friend Rob. We used to play NES stuff all the time together. We'd rent it from Blockbuster and play, and we were playing it. We liked Bionic Commando a lot, but we never finished it. So this time we're gonna buckle down. If it takes all night, we're gonna finish this game. And like, there's all this talk about Master D. We're gonna resurrect Master D, and and then Master D gets resurrected. He walks out of the clone chamber or whatever, and you get close up, and it's Hitler. They cloned Hitler. They brought Hitler back to life. And when they first showed that picture of him in the little dialogue box, both my friend, both Rob and I at the same time said, "It's Hitler!" like we were both so shocked that like the game went there.
Yeah.
You know, like that was the bad guy. It's like kind of a running gag. It's like, what's the worst person you could ever use for the best, the most effective bad guy ever? Hitler. And there he is.
Yeah.
And then later in the game, his head blows up and it's super gory. Like, it's great. But like, I just remember that. Like, that was a running gag between us for years. After that, it was just like, because both saying that at the exact same time, we're so shocked that Hitler showed up in a Nintendo game. I mean, it was a Capcom game. It was on Nintendo system, so. You couldn't show a cross in a Castlevania game, but Hitler could come do a monologue if you needed it. Like, it was an interesting Nintendo seal of quality standard there.
I think for me, my first oh my god moment that I can remember was in the arcade with Dragon's Lair. So it was when...
Oh my god, I can't believe I wasted my money on that piece of shit.
Well, not that really. So
50 cents, man.
No, it was $1 when it first came out.
It was 50 cents where we were.
It was $1 for every time you played. And
that's even worse.
Yes, but I was really into it because I was like, oh my god, these visuals look amazing. I was like a child. And so, you know, all these Laserdisc games started coming in, Space Ace and everything, and most of them failed, but Dragon's Lair was like the big one. And so I would go to the arcade, and I would usually spend my money playing games that I was good at, but I would always save $1 for right before I would leave to play one game of Dragon's Lair. And I would spend a lot of time watching other people play to try to memorize the patterns so I could get, like, value for my money. And everybody was, like, about as good as I was. Like, every once in a while, you'd watch someone play who would get 2 screens further than everybody else or from where I was. And there was one day I went into the arcade, and there was an adult playing Dragon's Lair, and he was a god at the game. And I just stood there, my jaw just down the whole time, just watching him go through the whole freaking game. I had watched the same, like, 8 screens for months, and this dude just rolled in, put $1 in it, and just walked through the whole game. Like, by the time he got to the end, there was nobody playing anything else in the arcade. Everybody was standing around watching him. He finished the game, and then, I don't know if it's still this way in arcade machines, but then you had to play it backwards in reverse once you finished the game. And he got, like, another third of the way through the game playing it backwards, and, like, our minds were just, my brain was just mush. Like, it just melted onto the cabinet. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god. Like, not only did you make it, like, the whole way through the game, you played halfway through it in reverse. So that was my first oh my god moment in games. I know it's not probably I'm not answering the question he asked particularly, but he's asking for an oh my god moment, and that's the first one I remember where something related to video games just blew my mind, besides the fact that video games exist in the first place.
I think the earliest thing like that for me probably would have been seeing Pac-Man in the arcade for the first time and thinking that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
and then
boom.
And then
we had a guy like that in our arcade, because our arcade was like this downtown, like it was not really it really wasn't a place I probably should have been hanging out, but it was where the arcade games were.
Yeah.
And the owner at the time, this guy named Leaf, would come in periodically, and he was just incredibly good at everything. And he would come in, like, he knew that people, like, when he walked in, it was like, oh, Leaf's here, what's he gonna play? He would 1/4 Bubble Bobble, which, if you don't recall, is 100 levels.
Yeah.
And he would 1/4 Ghosts and Goblins.
Wow. That's insane.
Like, both playthroughs.
That's
like,
insane.
And, like, and he'd just come in, and everybody had, like, call and response stuff. Like, when you'd pick up certain power-ups, there would be things. It was like Rocky Horror. Like, everybody in the arcade knew to say, when he picked up the little bell in Bubble Bobble, you all had to sing "I've Got Spurs That Jingle Jangle Jingle," and like it was just like this kind of like social moment where, like you said, everybody stopped playing and came over and watched Leaf 1/4 these fucking things, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And he was just this jolly round man who owned like all these video stores in the area, and he was just super good at it.
The arcade days were so great, man. Like, I often wonder if I wasn't alive during that whole era, if I would be doing what I'm doing today, because it just imprinted on me so hard.
It was a very different way to play things.
It was so different.
The other oh my god thing in that same arcade space would have been when the day they moved the Gauntlet game in.
Yeah.
They brought Gauntlet in because they would.
I was always terrible.
They would always put the new hot game in the middle of the room.
Yep.
It was like sit there in the middle, and they rolled this thing in. Everyone's like, "Look at all the fucking joysticks."
There's 4,
and you could play 4 players. I was like,
once.
"That's crazy!" Like,
that was unheard of.
And it wasn't like some kind of beat 'em up game like X-Men. It was like, it was like a dungeon, and it was like wizards, and I mean, it was. You never, and then like you realize like, you lose your whole. It's just a timer. Your life is a timer, and it goes down even when you're not getting hurt.
Yeah.
And like everyone's like, God, this.
I quit playing it. I was like, I can't get my money's worth out of this.
Well, I played it way more than I ever played Dragon's Lair because like I never even. I mean, I think I was a few years younger, so even at the time, like I do specifically remember playing Dragon's Lair because I'd seen it on Starcade and on you'd seen it in magazine commercials and stuff as a little bit too. And I loved Don Bluth. I loved all his movies and stuff. And I wanted to play it. And I remember I found it finally showed up in some arcade in some restaurant I was in with my grandmother. And she gave me money to play it, and I just instantly died.
That's the way that game is.
And she's like, I don't understand why you died. I'm like, I don't understand why I died either. She's like, well, if you don't know, then I really don't know. And I'm like,
and that's all your grandparents need for them to not give you any more money.
Well, I didn't want to play it anymore. I'm like, that's
really?
too fast. It was too fast.
Yeah.
It was just over.
No, it would happen like that. Yeah.
I didn't understand.
That's why
the
my
concept.
mind was exploded watching this guy play it. I'm like, I've spent like $35 just figured out how to get past like 8 screens, and this dude just waltzed in and just walked through the whole. Like he never failed. Like
I'm sure he had a lot of practice before that.
I guess like it was insane. I'll never forget it.
But and then it wasn't until I was an adult and they re-released Dragon's Lair, I think, on something that I played it. Then I realized like how it worked, and I'm like, that's stupid. No wonder I didn't understand why this.
I mean, the only reason you played it was to see what happened next.
Right.
That's what the whole idea was.
Talk about a game that's just worth watching on YouTube.
Right. Oh, absolutely. If YouTube was back then, nobody would pay $1 to play that game. That's for sure. Let's see. The Lord X. Like Link's Awakening, what old handheld games would you like to see get a remaster? Also, there was a Terminator Salvation game. It was god-awful, but an easy platinum trophy. I was not aware of that game.
I must have forgotten about that.
Yeah,
I'm sure we reviewed it.
Yeah. We probably intentionally got it out of our mind. Any old handheld game that you'd like to see remade?
I would love to see a quality remake of Axe Battler, A Tale from Golden Axe.
Interesting.
It's a Game Gear game that nobody remembers. But it's a Zelda-style top-down kind of RPG thing, except there's like random battles and fights in dungeons. But so the overworld stuff and the RPG-ish stuff is like walking around like Zelda, like a top-down thing. And then when battles start, they're side view fighting games. They're like Golden Axe.
Wow.
So you got a little cute little Axe Battler character running around, but when the fight starts, he becomes like the sprite from Golden Axe with the sword, and you have to like fight guys with swords and stuff.
Wow.
And then and the dungeons are like side-scrolling platform stuff, sort of like ActRaiser. And you slowly get more and more abilities, and by the end of the game, you're just this complete badass and can like do all these cool moves. And I would love to see someone put that. And the music is still stuck in my head to this frickin' day. I did actually mention that one of the side effects of playing Final Fantasy XIV that much is that Chocobo theme has been in my head all week. Like I walk around the house whistling it, and my girlfriend's like, "Stop!" Like, because that song just infects your brain. And I keep thinking, you ever see that old Flash animation? Where it's a song about how the guy's addicted to Final Fantasy.
No,
that song. It's like Final Fantasy is an RPG. It's
no,
like,
I've never. I don't know that I want
amazing.
to. Oh, it's good.
You don't want. I mean, it's funny because it's about how it was made right around when 10 came out, and it was sort of about it was basically an obsessed Final Fantasy fan who refuses to play anything else because he's too weak-minded to handle anything except what the game magazines tell him to. Yeah. Which is also very funny because in the song they actually say, "I only buy what the magazines tell me to buy," and I'm like, imagine that time. There was a time when magazines held sway over what people were buying. But the music in Axe Battler is really good, and I used to play that over and over on the Game Gear. All my picks for this would be Game Gear games that no one cares about. I'd want to see a Defenders of Oasis remake. I would want to see remakes of the GG Shinobi and the GG Shinobi 2. I think I'd love to see all those games make a comeback with like really good like modern graphics and keep the rest of the stuff the same like Link's Awakening does. But it would sell to me and probably like 3 other weird Sega fans that I don't think it's in the cards.
There's a couple. I would say
I would have also said Metroid 2 until they did that.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. I would say, well, I mean, I think any 2D Metroid game I would like to see remade. I think there's still several great handheld-only Zelda games that could be done.
The Oracle games, I think, would be ripe for the same treatment.
Yep, exactly. Sure. Sell them for $40,
or
but
you want to charge $60 and have both of them.
There you go. That's
fine.
Great. I would be totally fine with that. And then also the Uncharted game that came at the launch of the Vita.
The Golden
Abyss. Yeah. Because
that should get saved from obscurity. You're right.
Because it needs to be saved from obscurity, but I also hated playing it on the Vita. I hated it. The whole time, I'm like, I just want to play this with a controller.
Actually, along the same lines, Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden. Get that shit out of the Sony handheld ghetto.
Yep.
Save that stuff.
Absolutely. There's lots of good... I mean, even like Mario Kart 7, is it? That was only handheld?
That sounds right.
I think so. Like, even that. Like, some of the stuff that's in that, bringing it maybe just bring it in as like a pack in like the next Mario Kart or whatever as DLC or something. I'd be down with that. Kongrim 1, you've been rocking today in the chat. With Rockstar announcing its new launcher, are we starting to see the TV/movie equivalent of subscriptions for developers and publishers?
Certainly seems like it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has a launcher now.
I mean, they're not demanding any money yet, but you're just constantly...
Well, they're inching that way.
They're inching towards it in the sense of like trying to get you into their ecosystem or whatever, and it's just like, you know what? Like, I don't care, whatever launcher, but at a certain point, like, you were pushing me when you're making me sign up for all these stupid clubs, like, just to get the bonus stuff or get the whatever login bonus or whatever. Like, you want me to have, like, all these different things. I gotta remember who published what to, like, open this and do that. It's like, just stop, people.
Yeah.
Like, as though Rockstar makes games often enough to justify a launcher. You know, like, come on.
Well, it milks all its games so long that it kind of has to have one.
Why not just be called GTA 5 launcher? Or just GTA? That's just GTA 5 at that point. What am I gonna do? Like,
well, they're always gonna unify everything out of the gate because they want to have that one.
At least make it a 2K launcher or something.
Yeah.
Like, get more stuff under one banner.
But Rockstar tries to act like it's independent, even though it's not.
Right.
It likes to think that it is, but it's not. ETH Demon, you say you want another 2D Metroid, but there are so many indie games that do that, but arguably better. Do you think a Nintendo-made 2D Metroid game would be worth the while?
Absolutely. I mean...
And he's right.
There are a lot of really good Metroidvanias out there, but like they don't star Samus.
They don't.
Like, I like Metroid.
They're not set in that universe.
I like Metroid's trappings. I like the character. I like the colors they use. I love the music. Like, I want Metroid.
Yeah.
Like, all this other stuff is great, but I also want Metroid. There's no reason Metroid shouldn't be part of this.
There's
also no reason Castlevania shouldn't be part of this, but Konami gonna Konami. But Nintendo doesn't have that excuse. Make Metroid again.
Yeah, I can understand his perspective with maybe other publishers or other IP.
Yeah.
But there's something very distinctive about Metroid.
Yeah.
It's not something that anyone has just been able to completely ape and copy with any success. The game design, sure. But you're basically saying the presentation and the plot and the characters and the aesthetics and the art and the music, you're basically saying all that stuff doesn't matter. All that does matter is the game design, which is you get this here, you need to go here because it unlocks this door where you go in, and then you get this thing that unlocks this door over here. You're basically saying that the design is all that matters, and I don't agree with that at all.
No, that stuff is great, and it's a fine methadone for the Metroid heroin addiction.
Yeah.
But I want the heroin.
I want the heroin, exactly.
That's a pun because Samus is a girl.
It's also a joke. I hate that I said that. With really clear as day, can grab that vocal snippet and do something with it, but there it goes. Out there it is. Oh boy. Texture glitch. Matt, you mentioned Heather Alexander during the Sega segment. Are you talking about the musician? She's a friend of mine. How do you know him? I'm confused.
Heather Alexandra.
Oh.
She's a game journalist.
Okay. Anything else? Yep. Mike's Q. I would sneak off to the arcade to watch the demo reel for Carnival, the light gun game so much I learned the poem incantation from the opening.
Wow.
Awesome. So you spent some time in the arcades too.
I played that drunk a lot because like Carnival and Area 51 were like the two arcade games that would end up in bars in the 90s.
Ed Rock the Truth says the Mario Land series. I'm guessing is handheld that he would like
the
to
Game
see.
Boy series, yeah.
Yeah.
Super Mario Land was interesting.
And then Vincent says Mario Kart 7 is the basis for Mario Kart Tour, which is the upcoming mobile game for in the Mario Kart franchise. So I guess that's kind of happening already. So anyway, there you go. GameFace episode 183 in the books. It has been an absolutely different episode from what we've ever done, but I had fun. I think it worked okay. I don't know until we look at the archive. But I hope everything went well. I hope the audio mix was good and that the video quality was okay for you guys to watch, because give us some feedback on this. We'd like to do this again if you guys liked it. But if you guys regretted watching it with us for whatever reason and wish you had just watched it on your own, let us know and we'll adjust accordingly. Before we go, don't forget, GameFace is on iTunes. GameFace is on Google Play for all you Androids. I'm doing a Q&A, or not a Q&A, but a demo on how to add it to your podcast feeds on Android. That will be up in the next episode of Ask Shane Anything, which will be published very soon. If you are watching this on YouTube, hook us up with Twitch Prime, man. It can make a world of difference, and share the show. I'm going to start giving out awards for people who do a really good job of sharing our stuff, because we have one user, Peter, who retweets everything we tweet, who likes everything we post on Facebook. Like, if we had an army of people like him, we would be making some serious headway. So if you're on YouTube and you can't afford to contribute in any way and you don't have Amazon Prime, share the show. Share it on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever. If people ask you, hey, what's a good gaming podcast? Mention it. It would be awesome. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. GameFace is up and out.